Share and like, share and like, share and like, and share and like, and share and like. Like the show, follow the host. Dun, dun, dun. Can't even tell. Oh, my friend Johnson is in the house. Now sophisticated. Salutations.
Salutations, Rabbi. How are you?
Oh, good. Good. You know how it is. How are you, sir?
Shalom Aleichem.
Aleichem shalom. How's your conversion to Judaism going?
Slowly.
Slowly but surely.
Slowly. I have some news for you.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's not very good news.
Okay.
You told me last time that you were on Yosef Mizrahi's blacklist.
Right.
And I can confirm that that is the case.
Okay. Why is that a bad thing? That's a good thing.
I emailed him. And I was like, can you send me a list of people who are you've blacklisted? And you were number 14 on the list.
Yeah. Well, you could tell a lot about a person by their friends and their enemies. So, yeah.
You said that you were, quote, a heretic lunatic.
I think I'm so much more reasonable than he is, and I could commend him for being a great storyteller. I just don't think that logic and reason is his strong suit. Although I don't think he's a dummy in no way. I just don't. I mean, I've seen him debate an atheist once. I think there's one debate of an atheist, and it's just he doesn't do a good job. It's just, he's just not a thinker. He's just like a showman, which is. I mean, I'm not saying he's dumb. I'm not trying to belittle
He
the
is
guy.
dumb. He's not smart.
But it takes a certain level of intelligence to captivate an audience, and he does that.
Right? No, he's charismatic, sure, and he's a good storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
But the facts don't get in the way. He embellishes constantly, and he's very, he's very loose with his words.
I think he's Jewish first and honest second. Yeah, so I mean,
it's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, I strive to be a decent person first, and Jewish specifically. So that means it's all, in my mind, it's not even first or second. It's just like there's no point in calling yourself religious if you're not going to make your belief system look good. So, I mean, I always have to tell the truth, even though it makes my religion look bad. But I've had a friend reach out to him to set up a debate, and he wouldn't do it.
The problem is he doesn't make your religion look good.
No, right. I understand that.
He makes the religion look really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just an extremist. I mean, but in a really strange way. I mean, he's just very, very extreme.
I'll tell you what's strange about it is that it's true. He does take a stance, which is quite rare in the rabbinical world. Most rabbis today don't take a stand for anything. They just there's rabbis who stand behind certain principles and rabbis who don't. So he does. I mean, he wouldn't say the things he does if he didn't have a backbone. Like this whole thing.
He believes in what he says. I can give him that.
Yeah. While most rabbis.
And I like that about him. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's admirable. But that doesn't mean that he's necessarily a good person. Only because you take a stand on something doesn't mean that your outcome is, peace for all, redemption for all, hope for all. I guess hope for all is probably better. because I think the Kabbalistic understanding is that non-Jews are irredeemable in some way. So they feel that, of course we accept converts, but it's because you were Jewish all along. That's how special the Jewish soul is, right?
Yes. Well, the biggest compliment I could give him and the biggest insult for him, as I can say, is he's very Arab.
Interestingly enough, like the Christians on this platform that are the most abrasive are Arab Christians, like these Assyrian Christians, which I guess are technically more Persian than anything. But I mean, they're from Syria. Although yes, I get it, Syria is not Syria, but I think that's where the community lives now. But they brought this anger into the Christian world, which I never seen outside of the Black Hebrew Israelites. But like the Sam Shimons and like they're just. I mean, I think, I don't think Christianity as it's been practiced throughout the centuries was very decent in itself. It became decent with England and the United States, like the John Livingstons of the world going to Africa, putting their life on the line in order to make a single convert. The American charities that in the name of Jesus will go into the slums of Peru and get you to adopt a child. This wasn't very common for, let's say, Christians in the Middle East. I think Christians in the Middle East had the same temperament of just regular Muslims in the Middle East. It's kind of a rough place.
I agreed with you until the last bit. So the thing with Christians in the Middle East are you've got to remember who stayed and who left. So a lot of the very wealthy families converted. And those who didn't convert ended up leaving the Middle East for Europe and for the US, those who could afford it. Those who are left were the less educated village folk, if you want. That's why you've got this very strong sense of aggression within them. So it's you have to think about it in terms of especially where the Christian Arabs are. So in terms of, for example, Lebanon and Syria. So that those were French colonies, and a lot of the educated folk left for France or the US.
Courtney's dying to know like what rabbi we were talking about. We were talking about Rabbi Mizrahi, just so Courtney could know. And that he contacted Rabbi Mizrahi to verify if I'm still on the list or whatever. And then, yes, I'm supposedly still on the list, which, I mean, I got on that list. I got on that list via proxy because it was Yaron Reuven who put me on the list.
I asked him why I should stay away, and he told me that you were a heretic.
I mean, the word heretic really doesn't mean anything in Judaism because, okay. I'll tell you what heresy means today. I guess it means the same thing in Christianity also. It just means that you're teaching unpopular ideas for the day. Because ideas that are deemed heretical today, for sure, were not deemed heretical in Talmudic times, just because they didn't exist. For example, if you didn't believe in the Zohar in Talmudic times, well, you can't believe in a book that wasn't written yet. So it doesn't mean anything but popularity. It's kind of like cult. Cult is nothing but a religious movement that's small and probably socially irrelevant. So when someone uses that, that it's baseless. Because
if you watch his lectures, he uses those words, heretic, lunatic, about a lot of people.
Constantly. Well, not lunatic, but he'll say heretic. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
no, he'll use lunatic too.
Okay, whatever. It means nothing. Heresy means nothing in the Jewish world today. All right. Now, heresy, if you're going to an actual heretic is someone who goes against the rulings of the Sanhedrin, like something that goes against the Mishnah, right? Like, I don't even think they will use the word heresy. There'll be the word like apokoros, like apostate or a min. But heresy, there's a blessing called Alam al Shinin for like the heretics, but no one knows what that's for. Anyways, welcome, Coke.
Hello.
Or Coke, I don't know. So you are what's your religion?
I'm Catholic, Roman Catholic.
But I wanted to ask you, Asher, about the mixed multitude. So, what your unbiased view are, because I was watching obviously Mizrahi, and I watched David Bahaim, who I think is a lot more serious, but also very extreme in a lot of what he says, but a lot more serious. And he's, at least you can take him seriously. And there were some very negative things they both said about the mixed multitude and how they were the reason for so many traitors within the land of Israel and amongst the Israelites, and how they verbatim cause all of the issues within the Jewish communities. Is that how traditionally it's been viewed, or is that more of a recent development?
I don't know if it was viewed like this traditionally. I don't see it like it doesn't appear a lot in the rabbinic world. Like, you don't have a lot of chastisement of Jews within Judaism causing problems. Thus, we're going to call them a Molech, or in this case, the Erev Rav. So I'm not familiar with any example, but there is a source for what they're saying. They're not making it up, but they're just viewing one source. It's Rashi, and Rashi is not making it up, but it's quite impossible to find the Chumash, like a book of the Torah of the 5 books, without Rashi's commentary. So many people, they read Rashi like it's part of the source text. So Rashi says in the portion when they build the golden calf, that when God says that this is your nation that did this, it's because there's a legend that teaches that Moses converted the mixed multitude in Egypt when God told him not to. So thus it became his nation. You see how they kind of do a lot with a little, right? From that little one nation, they pulled all that up. So then they blame all the misdeeds of the Hebrews in the wilderness on the mixed multitude, right? I mean, they skipped.
And did God tell
What?
Moses not to convert the mixed multitude?
No, it's a legend. It's a legend. Moses didn't convert the mixed multitude. God converted everyone on Mount Sinai, right? So it's a legend, and most of these legends, they sort of insert later ideas like conversion. There was no conversion on Mount Sinai. That was a huge conversion. It's not like,
why would anybody make that up?
Because they're dumb. I mean, I'm sorry. Whoever, there's another medrash about the mixed multitude, and it appears in Shmot Rabbah, that says that the mixed multitude who came out of Egypt were the best and the brightest of Egypt. And they basically all got absorbed into Israel. And people choose to use the legend that scapegoats them. Why? Because it makes them feel good. And it justifies the idea that Jews are superior. Because of course the Jews wouldn't have built a golden calf. They're Jews. They have a superior soul. It's the Gentiles who attach themselves to them. So it's
Mizrahi said that it was the Erev Rav who did it.
Yeah, well, because this is what Rashi says. But I have no issue people bringing in folklore and legend as long as they acknowledge it's folklore and legend. And on top of that, as long as they acknowledge that there's other legends that teach the opposite, that are just as valid.
Can we just stick on this point? So why would anybody make up such a horrible accusation against the greatest person or the greatest person according to Judaism? Why would they make up this legend, number one? And then why would Rashi, one of the greatest scholars in ever in Judaism, why would he choose to amplify that rumor, that horrible idea?
I think everyone has to struggle with the ingrained bigotry that we're born with, to in some way choose someone who looks like us, who sounds like us, and I'm not a hippie. For those listening, I'm conservative politically all the way, right? However, I think that everyone has to fight what Christians would call their carnal nature. In this area, the idea to scapegoat another group just to make you look better. And this mainly, look, like all these midrashim really took steam when Jews were in exile, downtrodden, and the rabbis would create these legends to make them feel good, saying like, no, the reason you're
how
suffering
does it
now
make you
is
feel
not-
good to denigrate the name of your greatest?
Well, let's be realistic
person?
here. If someone is if a guy is single and he's a gamer and he's a mama's boy and he's out of shape and somebody comes, no, you're actually beautiful. The reason you can't get girls is because you're so good looking, right? That girls don't know what to do with you, right? People want to be soothed. And this is why these midrashim took steam. If you have Jews suffering in exile, saying God has forgotten about us, then comes a Hasidic master saying, no, the reason you're so downtrodden is not because of your sins, it's because you're so special. And Gentiles know it, and they want to keep you down. That's the basis of Hasidut. This is what the Baal Shem Tov did. The Baal Shem Tov would go from village to village, speaking to illiterate Jews who forgot about Torah, saying that, you know what? It's not your actions that define you. It's the spark within you. You have a piece of God within you. You are superior to all these Gentiles around us. This is the birth of Hasidut, right? And it made them feel good, especially at the point of where they're at in their life, which is contrary to the Torah. God tells you when you suffer collectively on a national level, is because you did something wrong. You need internal, you need introspection. Like do what's called a cheshbon nefesh, right? To see where you went wrong.
Understand you correctly, if I play back to you just to make sure I've understood you correctly, what you're saying is that many people who, during exile or during a period of weakness and despair, made up this idea that actually the issue is the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude, who are causing all of the problems, and actually the purity of the Jewish people is pure, and God still would redeem them, but it's the Erev Rav that are causing these problems, and it's actually Moses that is the cause of this issue. Because when you look at Rashi, he really blames Moses for this.
Well, he blames them and the one who converted them, supposedly Moses. Right? It's not.
I think they have all context.
Most of the time, when they call someone a Molech or Erev Rav, they're talking about Jews themselves. Right? I mean, they're not calling Gentiles this typically. Like when I lived in Israel, like Ehud Olmert, they would call him a Molech, right? Or also part of the Erev Rav. It's a whole thing, which actually goes against halacha. Like you can mention this halacha to anyone whenever they link anyone to the Erev Rav or to a Molech. There's a halacha that you're not supposed to give any modern person or group the title of a biblical nation, because the rabbis teach that Sanherib, who was the Assyrian general, he dispersed. I mean, his tactic to in some way stop mutiny was that whenever he took over a land, he would disperse them across the Assyrian Empire. As a matter of fact, we believe that's where we got stuck with the Samaritans. The Samaritans, according to rabbinic Judaism, are Kutim, like Kuthians, who were placed in Israel by the Assyrians to, in some way, disrupt unity. So the rabbis teach that no one is allowed to say that this person is Edom or this person's a Molech after Sanherib did this. And this is a halacha. It's a halacha in the Talmud. So anyone who says that person's a Molech or this person's Edom or this person's the Erev Rav is actually going against that halacha. And I challenge any rabbi who does it. By the way, it's irresponsible to do that.
Okay. Mizrahi does it with the Palestinians, obviously, when he calls them.
They put it on. They do it with me, and they call me Erev Rav.
What does he call them? Something Edom?
Possibly Edom. I mean, Edom is Christianity, right? I mean, which is also wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say first, and by the way, Coke wanted to speak.
All right.
I just have a quick question. A quick question. My maternal great-grandfather got one of those fancy DNA tests that tell you, like, who your great a bunch of generations back. He found out that one of my a long time ago, like a bunch of generations past, one of my super great grandparents were Jewish, and they converted to Catholicism. They lived in Spain during a time where I think they were persecuting Jewish people in Spain, I believe. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. I just have a question. What do Jewish people believe in? Is it similar to Christianity? Because I've never really understood it.
Okay. So, if you're Christian, I'll try to explain it in a way that a Christian person can understand. It's pretty
I'm
much
excited to hear
Christianity.
this. I'm excited to hear this.
It's
Welcome,
pretty much,
Coke.
it's pretty much Christianity without Jesus plus laws. Okay. Or
Plus
without
what?
the New Testament plus laws.
Oh.
Now, there are some Jews who believe in Jesus or Yeshua also. It's not a big segment of the population. I would say probably the vast majority of Jews don't believe in anything. In terms of observant Jews, Orthodox Jews, you're talking about maybe 15% of the population. So the vast majority of Jews, if you're going by majority, then probably the official Jewish religion is atheism from that perspective. Okay, but I don't, in my opinion, they don't speak for Judaism. I'm an Orthodox Jew, and like we probably make up around 15% of the population. So we believe in the first part of the Christian Bible that you guys call the Old Testament. In particular, the 5 books of Moses, and then there's 2 more segments called the prophets and the writings. And that's it. Like, we believe that we entered into a covenant with God on Mount Sinai to be his people and he would be our God, and that we will be distinguished by keeping commandments. And God specifically says that we'll be his treasured nation only if we keep commandments. So this is why Jews are preoccupied with Torah laws, which include things like belief, like believing in God is also a commandment. So, but even though you happen to have DNA, Jewish law doesn't take that into consideration to consider you Jewish.
It's not Jewish DNA. They were Spaniard. It's just the religion that they were. I was just curious to see what they believed in.
Well, sorry, I obviously I'm not like the most educated, but as in the like sector of Judaism and Abrahamic religions, but also Judaism like is like an ethnicity too. There's like various Jewish ethnicities. So obviously you have like Persian Jews, you have Iraqi Jews, and then you also have like Spanish Jews, which these in Portuguese and Moroccan Jews are called Sephardi Jews. And they're very prevalent all across Latin America. And up until the 1940s in my country, like most of the Jewish people in our country were Sephardi, but after a certain event in Europe in the 1940s, a lot of refugees came over and they were Ashkenazi Jews, and they now make up a majority of my country's Jewish population. But it is like an ethnicity too, sort of. So
I'm going to slightly disagree with that. I mean, I believe that there's an ethnic component to the Jewish people, but the religion itself, the religion is not an ethnic one. I mean, anyone could become Jewish or, practice what we call Judaism, which is essentially entering the covenant. But yes, there's an ethnic component to the Jewish people. Like if your mother's Jewish, you're Jewish, right? Barbara Streisand's Jewish. No one's denying it, but she's not in any covenant with God. So the covenant is the religion. And then, anything could technically be an ethnicity. Now there's an Israeli ethnicity that didn't exist before. Jews from that region before were essentially Arabs, right? Although they hate to admit it. But yeah, so I agree and disagree slightly. Go ahead. Bernie, Bernie's here to contribute. Now, Bernie is a Jew who may disagree with me on things, but I hope we agree more than we disagree.
How you doing, Rabbi?
How's it going? Good Erev
I'm
Shabbos.
good. Good Erev Shabbos. And no, I agree with you on a lot of things. You don't have to pinpoint that way. We have a different background.
I'm bracing for the, for.
No, I have not. No. Listen, we all come from different backgrounds and we bring that to the table. And I have my background, your background. So that's what good conversation is about. The more understanding,
How do you feel about the Erev Rav?
When you say Erev Rav, who are you referring to specifically?
So
Multitude of Exodus 12.
yeah, the mixed multitude.
In relation to today.
Right. I mean, now it's become like a derogatory term. If they don't like you, they consider you heretical. They'll call you part of the Erev Rav or a Molech or.
So it depends where you are coming from, because I'm in New York, and I don't experience that or witness that or anything like that. I understand that it's more, unfortunately, in Israel, the division between secular and religious, and we are other than right now, and loggerheads, because there's no to me, there's no dialogue. Nobody wants to budge. And a lot of it is misunderstanding. And if people would get together in a room and try to explain their side, and the other one try to explain their side, maybe there'll be a little bit more improvement of somebody from calling somebody, God forbid, a Molech or the Erev Rav,
I don't
and
think
start to understand.
I don't think anyone who would use that term is reasonable enough to, be taken aside.
I get it. You have an extreme. There's extreme point of views where there's nothing you could say or do. They're very extreme. Now, I'm not talking about those because I'm talking of the majority, and the majority is not at that point. So let's take the majority and try to work with the other side. Listen, that's something I wish for and I pray for in these times of unity, that it could be a better, reaching out. And I don't think one should wait for the other side. I don't think if they're not going to come approach me, I'm not going to go them. I think every individual will take that first step forward and do the right thing.
I've run into people who dislike me in my community. I live in a pretty large Jewish community, and they're like, "Are you Meza?" And when I say yes, I see that they're angry, but they're so menschendik that they'll just look at me and say, "Good Shabbos, good Shabbos." So that's what a decent person would say. They'll hold it, but they'll show it in their face instead of saying, "You're a apokorus, you're a min kofar."
No, that's right. That's awful. If somebody says that. That totally goes against our beliefs and how you should talk and how you should behave. The idea is mutual understanding. I mean, that's easier to say. We've been going through the history. I mean, during the Churban Bayis, Janie, we were fighting amongst each other while the Romans were sacking Jerusalem. I mean, this is just part of our history, and it's something that, listen, I don't know. It's wishful thinking, especially now. I think we have to take that first step, reach out to people and teach them, show them by example that we're not the way we are as a whole, and then, light that spark somehow and just be not so divided.
All right, Bernie, if you found out, I don't know if I asked you this, if you found out.
I think you did, but I'm ready. Go ahead.
No, for everyone listening, if you found
It's a
out
hypothetical. Here it comes.
that your grandmother wasn't Jewish, right? Chas v'shalom, your grandmother wasn't Jewish, would you convert to Judaism?
Okay, you asked me that question.
Okay, all right. No, but this is for everyone listening. Or that would you remain a Noahide, like a Ben Noach?
Okay, first of all, I'm not sure exactly how I answered that question, but for me, that hypothetical, I can't imagine that hypothetical. It's like I did not grow up like that. I never, in that scenario, how was I religiously at that time? Or there's so many variables, I can't comprehend the answer to that question. I don't know what I would do in that situation. And I can't reenact a situation like that. It's just something, a thought. Okay, now some people may give you a definitive answer. I will do this and I will do that. Circumstances play out in a different situation. So on that basis, I really can't give you a definitive answer. I'm not avoiding or deflecting. I'm
You're
just
not falling into my trap. You're not falling into my trap.
Yeah, so do you think the religion, Bernie, do you think the religion is wonderful enough that if you were a Gentile, you would actually just want to convert to Judaism?
Don't answer that, Bernie. Don't answer that.
Such a leading question. Smart question, Courtney. Very naughty of you.
Courtney, nice to meet you. Well, obviously, the scenario is, here the rabbi is a pure example of that, who endeared himself and converted.
Yeah, but would you?
Yeah, would you?
Again, if I grew up, listen, I am, okay, so let me give you my background. I'm born into an Orthodox family, Holocaust survivors, a first generation. I went to yeshiva as a child. I lived in a Jewish community all my life. So,
then what's the problem?
in realistic terms, I'm born into the community, right? I'm brought up with this mindset and so on and so forth. So for me, it's sort of difficult, would I convert if I wasn't in there? Now, that question may be better for somebody that never religious or a Gentile, because something has to move them into the direction, him or her, to want to convert.
You
Like
have
Rabbi.
to feel it inside.
I have a
Do
question.
you feel it
I'm sorry.
inside?
What?
Based on what you said, Mr. Bernie, and based on what Courtney and Rabbi asked, and with knowing your background now, would you be confident and say your great great grandchild or your neighbor who you see every day struggling with trying to find their path? Would you be confident enough to say to them, I think this is the path that you need to be on?
Well, I'm going to answer that. That I can answer. Okay, so the first part of it is I have 6 children, 22 grandchildren. I've raised them all in the faith, Orthodox. I've been blessed.
Oh,
That they
Hashem.
all, I've been
All
blessed that
Orthodox,
they
no pesky reform.
all married religiously, live in Israel, and so on and so forth. I did not. Okay, my son at his time, 18 years old, decided to rebel, but then he came back. It wasn't one of those long journeys. So I have been literally blessed to not have a situation where a child or anything would go off the path and throw away the religion itself. Now, I personally believe in my faith deeply, deeply, not blindly, but deeply because of what I've learned, history, so I would deeply make sure and hope that generations and generations of my grandchildren, great grandchildren will continue to have faith. And that's why I learned tremendously from my parents, may they rest in peace, and from his parents. And it's passed down to generation, and you got to do the best you can. There's no secret thing. When I was a kid, I sent my kids to school just like I was sent to school. Now, some schools, well, when it wasn't the variety there is today, but you go to school and you have a child goes in, gets into a little bad crowd, and they're a leader, they're a follower. Next thing they see, it's bad habits, and you can't watch them 24 hours a day. So what you have to do, give them basic love and teach them and make sure, just do the best you can, because once they're out there in the real world, it's a crapshoot, right? So you just show love and affection, dedication. That's the way I know. That's the way I've been brought up.
So Bernie, would you convert if you were a Gentile?
No, he can't
If
answer that. I mean, 'cause he
if
doesn't know the
I knew
difference.
what I know now, then I would, yes.
No, but the bigger question is, if a Gentile comes up to you and says, Bernie, I'm looking for an ethical religious outlet in life. I don't know where to go. Would you nudge him to
Yes.
consider Judaism?
I would sit down with him. I would have a full discussion, hear what he has to say, back and forth, take contact, see where it's coming from, and then absolutely nudge him. If it was a sincere, conversation, I would definitely take steps to help him.
My man. That's
And
what I wanted to hear.
you've got to answer your own question now.
So that makes you part of the Erev Rav, by the way. But you have distinguished yourself as a mullik today. No, I agree with you fully. But that's what they call me, because I encourage people to consider becoming Jewish if they're serious, of course. If they're
But by the way, Rob, okay, as in our faith, again, it's a disagreement I think we had in Florida. I have to research that. Where we don't convert, generally. We're not looking to proselytize.
No. There's no source for that. There's no source for that. I know you
Okay,
say.
listen, all I can say is, again, it's my long years on this planet, and everybody I've encountered through all the years, we're not out evangelizing. It's not open. It's not an organization. There is no that I know. You are personally.
No, yeah, but I
because you
believe that
come
Jews
from a
used to do it
different
also, by the
background.
way.
You come from a different background, so you
No,
can
it has nothing
speak
to do with
to
the background. Okay, clearly I want to do it because I think, if you found something good, you should want to share it. But I don't see anything. I mean, as a matter of fact, there's more sources in the Gemara to encourage people to become Jewish than to reach out to unaffiliated Jews. There's no rabbi there's only one example in the Gemara with Reish Lakish. I think Rabbi Yoshua. That's the only example I have of them reaching out to an unaffiliated Jew. There's many statements that, it says in Pesachim Pei Zayin that we're in Gullus in order to acquire converts. That's what we're here. This is Rabbi
But what
Eliezer.
you're saying to me, if I understand it correctly,
Yeah.
if somebody approached me and was interested in Judaism, absolutely, I would, encourage them based on the conversation, obviously. But you're saying you're going one step ahead. That I should go on a street corner and start trying to go into Christian communities and start talking to people. Hey, why don't you come over to my side?
God willing. I mean, one, it's
I
a
mean,
numbers
that's the
game.
opposite of Jews for Jesus. I mean,
Right. You know, it's Jews for Goyim.
again, we don't. Again, if you can show me, other than a personal individual or here and there,
No, I'm not
that's
saying
not
it's a
something
halacha.
we have so much other priorities
Wait,
in our Judaism and our peoplehood at the moment,
No, I
and
get it.
all
I get
these
it.
things through the centuries. This is not a priority one.
I'm not saying that it's an obligation. I think it's a good idea. However, I believe there are more sources to reach out to non-Jews than there are to reach out to born Jews. This was invented by Chabad, by the way. Kiruv, Shlichut, was invented by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Jews never did this.
That's correct. And yes, that's true.
Yeah. Why didn't they do it? For that same reason, that there wasn't a priority. There was no chovah. There wasn't an
What he's
obligation.
saying, his priority is to reach out, not to converts. His to reach out to Jews, unaffiliated, secular. Reach out, bring them the word.
100%.
No.
Right. But there's no source for that either.
That's what he did.
No, I know that's what he did. But like,
I
just
live
like,
it.
this is
I
what
have my
do.
family members are shluchim, and that's what his review was. I followed him.
Well,
I remember.
I think it's a good idea, which is why I think this is also a good idea. I think what makes it bad is that he limits it only to people with a specific DNA. That makes it a bit bigoted. If the Lubavitcher Rebbe would have said, you know what, we're reaching out to everyone. Crown Heights is going to be all Jewish, right? There wouldn't be.
No, wait. Don't you think we have a big enough plate on our hands of our total population that you said is 50% religious and 85% unaffiliated or completely secular? Don't you think we have a handful just in that amount before we got going outside the faith? Let's get to what we got to do first before we go out there.
And this is why I do it. Every time I see a Gentile, right? I mean, I see a potential Jew.
Okay, you're coming
every time
from
I see a
different
Gentile,
place, which I respect.
potential Jew
You're a Gentile and you converted. You have a different perspective. So
I know.
That's a very difficult thing. I understand where you're coming from, but our perspective is different. But you get where I'm coming from.
No,
I'm
I
not
understand
knocking
what you're
it.
saying. No, I'm just saying that
But this
Kiru
Kira,
is as much of nuance as proselytizing is, but it's also a good idea. Don't forget, if a Gentile converts to Judaism, I'm already fixing that imbalance between the religious and the secular either way. And I bet that we would have more success trying to convert a Christian to Judaism than trying to convert an atheist Jew to Judaism, because they're hard.
No. I'm not even going to go there. It's a lot easier to take a secular Jew who accepts that he's Jewish and he's not religious and bring him closer than an atheist or a Christian or
I agree.
a Gentile.
I completely disagree. Now,
let me 1 second. So
Okay.
now this is something you believe, and I get it because you've come from that background. But when you're speaking to people such as myself, who were born, raised in a family, didn't have any different secular issues and irreligious issues, etc., etc. So that's my background. So I try to step out of that background to be in your shoes, which I get. But there isn't. Well, this is your personal feeling, but there isn't.
it's ethics.
Organizations. Why aren't you starting an organization, Rabbi, of outreach, if that's what you want to
I
do?
I have it. Here, look. Well, let me tell you some history about myself. Okay, I worked at Hebrew University for 5 years, reaching out to unaffiliated Jews in Jerusalem, birthright kids, and putting them in yeshiva. You know how hard it is to convince a secular kid from America who's like overseas in Israel learning to come to a shir? It's quite impossible. Now,
yes, very
I
difficult.
used to be a Christian before I became Jewish. And I was a street minister to gang members and prostitutes. It's so much easier to bring Christians over to anything that's religious than it is Jews. Just Jewish people are hard. They're hard-headed. Okay, I'm sorry to say.
Well, 1 second. You got to take people on an individual basis. You can walk up to a Christian who may be looking and searching and willing to listen. But you can walk up to a Christian who's very solidified in his beliefs, and he's not going to nudge a budge. He's going to say, go F yourself. I mean, it's
in the vast majority of cases.
It's like hitting a needle in a haystack, okay?
No. I was raised Christian, and I see everywhere around me they are doubting now. I am converting now, trying to convert.
Oh, bless you. Good luck.
It's difficult. I wanted to tell my story.
Yes, I want to listen to the story before I. Is
Of
your
course,
name
I will.
Sonia? Your name's
Yes.
Sonia?
Yeah.
That was my mother's name. May she rest in peace.
Oh, so much. Oh,
She was
Where do
from
you live,
Hungary.
Sonia?
Yes, Sonia was her name was Sarah. But yes, so that when
uh,
I saw that touched me. So go ahead.
uh,
Where do you live, Sonia?
Holland.
Where? Oh, Holland. Holland.
Holland. Yes.
From that very thick Dutch accent.
What? Sorry, what you say?
No, I was saying I'm surprised he couldn't tell you a Dutch from your Dutch accent.
Oh, I don't hear the Dutch accent.
Yeah, I have a very big accent.
He has a very strong Nederland accent.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's difficult for me to speak English, but
No, it's perfect English.
Well,
yeah.
anyways, I encourage you to continue on your journey to convert to Judaism. I think it's an ethical matter. You see, if it's true that Jews nowadays only do outreach for people who are born Jewish, but if one person is lacking Torah in their life, right, and they happen to have a Jewish mother, and another person is lacking Torah in their life and they don't have a Jewish mother, what's the difference? Right? I mean, ultimately, what's the difference from an ethical perspective? If Torah is going to make their life easier and you're already out there doing outreach, why don't you, instead of bringing one pamphlet, bring two? Right? That's when it becomes an ethical issue. You're saying these people are worth it and these people are not, when essentially they both don't have Torah.
No. Look, for me, it's a question of history, because my grandparents, they fled from Germany in 45 when that bastard came to power, and they didn't talk very much about that period. It was painful, and people were tired of it and wouldn't listen. And but they, in early 30s, they had a feeling it's not going right. We have to flee. So they changed their name from Lyon to another name that I have now, and we came to Holland. And what's going on? Now I'm not a Jew anymore. According to my papers, according to a history that cannot be found anymore. And that sucks. I cannot prove that I am Jew anymore.
Okay. I mean, you could always convert, although conversions are.
Yeah, I can convert, yes. But it's difficult because I believe in the Messiah too.
Oh, well.
Because, yeah, it's difficult.
So why do you want to convert to Judaism?
I feel it in my heart. I feel it. I feel when I read the Torah, when I I feel it.
Yeah. Why not just be messianic then?
Yeah,
Messianic Jews. I know, but there's no community here, and we have a community in my city and in Amsterdam, but not messianic.
Now, wait a minute. I just want to ask you to be clear, Sonia. So you're
Yes.
saying you have a feeling of Judaism, which you'd
Yes.
love to convert to, but
Yeah.
at the same time, you believe as Jesus as the Messiah.
Yes.
So you obviously realize that is a total opposite belief.
Outcast.
It's total opposite belief. So if you want to convert, it's against our principles. We don't believe in
know.
any a Messiah. That we believe in Messiah, but it has to come at a certain time, not resurrect. It's a living
Yes.
person, and there's a lot of things. Now, this is a combination of learning and knowing. I'm not throwing everything at you,
No,
but
I
I'm
know.
sure you're aware that the basic premise is
I know.
not accepting that.
No,
Right,
I
today.
know. Yeah, I know, and I know. I read about it. I learn about it. I believe everything. Only that part. It makes. I think it's a piece of history that I was a Christian, and
Yeah, but so say I can feel the difficulty in your voice,
yes,
and I think that I don't know. Again, you're in Holland.
yeah,
I wish I could be in touch with you because I'm more willing to help you explain and give you a
yeah.
little clear thought
Our
because I don't
rabbi
think you have
doesn't
the
do that.
ability to get the proper point of view to give you a little clearer sense.
So Courtney is
I
gonna
reached out. There was an Kaddish gentleman here in town. I approached him, and he shut me down, and I walked after him. I said, I want answers, and I don't know where and how I can get them.
Well, you
And
reached the right place. Rabbi, I'm sure.
Rabbi Asher, how are you?
Hey,
yeah, yeah, and
I have a
we have
question for Rabbi.
we have a rabbi here in town, but they are Hasidish, and women are
I understand. Is there a
yeah.
Chabad near you anywhere?
No,
Where in Holland are you?
Deventer.
David?
That's on the northeast side, near Zwolle and
Well, I'm not
Enschede.
familiar with Holland, so other than
Yes,
that.
There's a
near
Jewish
near
population in
Germany,
Zwolle.
20 kilometers from Germany.
You should.
Rabbi, what do you recommend here?
Rabbi.
no, wait, hold on.
She should stay Christian, and she can adapt.
Uh-oh.
No,
Uh-oh.
she should. Otherwise, if she has no community, it's going to be bad for her.
Tug
Why
of
would you?
war.
Yes, but I
Tug of
feel it in
war.
my soul. I feel it in my body.
Yeah,
I
but
feel it in
are
my
you willing to
in
move out of where
everything.
you are to be in a community that would be accepting and be around? Because if you want to be in
Yes, but
Judaism,
I don't feel
community is
Christian
extremely
anymore.
important.
Yeah, but I don't feel Christian, so I go there. I don't feel it. I don't.
So he's
Now
I
saying
you're
you
want
should
to.
mixing what
move
I'm
I
into a
want to
Jewish
saying.
gospel.
community.
What are your
I want
thoughts,
to
Rabbi
gospel
Asher, about
Judaism
this
Okay,
matter?
in
so
church.
wait, hold on. Okay, so then I
I
agree
want
with
to
both Courtney
gospel
and Bernie here.
Judaism in church.
Like, if you're not willing to pick up and move into a Jewish community, don't entertain becoming Jewish. Okay, being Jewish is really more than just keeping Torah laws; is being part of a community.
Yeah.
Walking with God doesn't mean much if you're walking alone. Making the world a better place is a team effort. All right. However, if you're not going to convert to Judaism, then become a good Christian. Okay, I don't want you to become an atheist, but 100%.
No.
So just pick up. I mean, if you feel Jewish, then move to
I
Israel.
can
Move to a Jewish
almost
community.
cry.
There's
It's
a
not
Jewish
here.
community so close to you in Zwolle.
I would say you could follow the
Is it in
Tanakh.
Zwolle?
Yeah, there's a
You
Jewish
don't need a
community in Zwolle.
community.
And what sort? Look, you have so many communities. What sort of community is
I
this?
don't know. I'm not Jewish, but I know that there is a Jewish community in Zwolle. I've been there.
So, what's your hashkafa? What's your view on life and your philosophy and the things? Because it seems like you might have issues with certain sects of Judaism.
You could be a Jew without going to a
Me,
synagogue or a congregation.
Courtney, do you?
Yeah. Do you have a specific like Hasidim?
Yes.
You obviously okay.
Yeah.
Asher, could I ask you a question, Rabbi?
Wait, hold on. Just let her answer this, and then we'll talk. Okay, this is the last question with the lady. Go ahead, Sonia.
No. Okay. For me, it's important that you respect everybody, but you feel. I have to. I feel that I have to defend Judaism everywhere. When I go to church, I gospel Judaism. When I talk to neighbors, when I talk to friends, I gospel Judaism. It's important for me to. Yes, I can.
We understand. It's hard to explain. You contact
Yeah.
me or Courtney after this, or contact both of us in case. I'm sure she has some advice for you. Well, let's move on to the next question. But
Yes.
don't give up. That's
No.
my opinion of you. But however, go all the way. All right. This
Yeah.
notion that you could be Jewish without a synagogue, yeah, but this is not what we're trying to promote. Right. I mean, I'm not for having more secular Jews. I mean, if you're going to be Jewish, go all the way. If not, don't call yourself Jewish. I mean, although you can't run away from it.
Don't
once you
go
feel
that
it.
far. Rabbi, don't go that far.
I'm not for secular Jews
But
identifying.
Rabbi, but when somebody feels Jewish, is that a reason to convert to Judaism? Is that a good
I
enough
mean,
reason?
far be it from me to declare what's a kosher reason or what's not a kosher reason. If they're committing themselves to keep the Torah, that's what it matters. People convert for the stupidest reasons. Okay,
Well, that's
I don't care
exactly.
why they
I
come
haven't
to
heard the word Torah coming out of her.
I know
No,
because she's
no,
still
No,
young.
no,
I
no, no.
read the Torah.
She's
I
yeah.
read
No,
the
no, she
Torah.
has.
Yeah,
Alone.
I
You
read
have
the
to
Torah.
listen carefully. She
I
she
feel
she
it.
resonates with it. But
I know
the
the
thing is
commandments.
like
I know
there are
everything.
there are people
Sonia,
that convert to Judaism just to marry someone they've fallen in love with, right? So they
Yeah,
don't necessarily love the religion, but they love the person and they're willing to adopt the religion for that. So I mean, for someone that says I feel
I'm
intimately
alone and
something,
I feel it.
I'll,
Yeah,
I'll
I
say
I
understand,
read
I
the
get it,
Torah.
Sonia,
but
Sonia,
I would say if it's in
I
your
guess I can't
fabric,
ask your age, but my point is making, it seems like you're caught in between. In one
Mm,
hand, that, on the other hand, you want to continue and you have the beliefs of Christians. So you're
mm.
right in the middle. So there's a commitment that has to be made one way or another.
so I
Yeah,
would
Standing
yeah,
in
I
the
say
middle
agree.
standing in the middle the way you are is really eating at you. So
Yes.
it's
so
really
so
looking in the mirror in the deep of your soul
Aren't
and
messianics
deciding
in the
what you
middle?
want to do and
so
make
what I
that
would
commitment, whatever it takes.
All right,
Yeah,
so
and
I
Charlie
to
wants to say
respect my
something. Charlie,
grandparents,
go ahead,
they
Charlie.
have to
never mind.
let Judaism go
So
for the sake of their own lives. And now I feel that
Well,
I let them down.
first of all, it's not. A
so
lot of things
so
happen. I will tell you
what
that I just want to add one quick thing about that because my parents are Holocaust survivors, and
Yeah, my
A lot of
grandparents too.
Holocaust survivors came after the war, and a
am I on
tremendous
mute?
amount of them
Am I
left the
on?
faith. Tremendous amount left the faith because of what happened. God, they were angry, and they just walked away completely. But then again, amazingly, there's a tremendous amount of people, such as my parents, and a whole
Yeah.
bunch of survivors who maintained their faith through and through the hell, through the torture, and came out of it somehow. And with that belief,
Hashem was always there.
yeah.
He carried us.
So, in your situation, that's what
You
I'm
know
trying to,
the you know
that's all I'm trying to
the
say is that it's a commitment.
you know the saying that Hashem was carrying somebody down the beach. He couldn't see its
yeah,
footsteps.
the footsteps. It was I
Yes.
who carried you.
Yeah.
Yes.
My grandparents always said he carried us. Hashem carried us.
All right. Anyways,
Man.
I want to ask
So
Bernie because I think Bernie was the one
Bernie,
who responded when I said that
I
if
want to.
you're unaffiliated religiously, you shouldn't identify as Jewish. And then I think Bernie's like, don't go that far. Is that you who said it, Bernie? Because this is an interesting
Can I,
topic.
Absolutely. That's a
Asher?
little
Can
over
I,
the top.
I think
Rabbi?
it's horrible for irreligious Jews to identify as Jews, which only gets all their actions painted as Jewish actions when they're not religiously
I
inclined.
understand that, but remember the discussion we
Rabbi,
have that how of them have no affiliation, Tinak Shinishbar, they don't know better.
Yes, they
You
shouldn't call
can't
themselves
just
Jews.
why not? No, I
so
disagree. That's an
so
argument for another thing.
so what I would say, if you feel like the fabric in your DNA that you're Jewish, and you long to serve Hashem in spirit and in truth, and you want to keep His Torah, keep the Tanakh, and you don't have a synagogue or a congregation or a people, do it. Do it
I want to
solo,
serve him.
because if you have a heart to serve Him, then
Yes.
then Hashem will meet you where you're at, and then eventually you will come into a congregation, come into a group of people. I mean, it says
Yes.
in Jeremiah that if we call unto Him, He will answer us, and He'll show us great and mighty things which we know not. Right. So, like, if we shema, if we listen, if we hear, if we obey, then the people will happen, the congregation will happen. But if you have to be solo in your walk, I mean, let's not forget Moses was solo for a long time. He was in Egypt, right? I think if you got to be solo and you're serving the Elohim of Israel, the Father will meet you where you're at, and He will lead and guide and direct you to a congregation and to a people. And so, if you have to be solo for the time being, so be it. But you stand on His word. You stand on His word that He will put people in your life to help you
Yeah.
grow in His word. Until you Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai
Thank
Ahad.
you.
when
Okay.
you
Charlie,
know
are you
that,
a Torah observant Christian?
Fringe.
I'm not a Christian,
Are
but
you a Torah observant believer in Yeshua HaMashiach?
I am, but I don't believe he's
Okay,
God. It's just a big
that's fine.
difference. I don't
No, I
believe
could
he's
just tell
God.
by the way you're speaking.
Yes,
I would
I was about to
I would
ask the
say
background. I don't
Yeshua is
understand. Yeah.
Yeshua's is he's I believe he's first came as a suffering servant. He come back as Mashiach ben David, but I don't believe he's Elohim. Right? I think that's contrary to Scripture. God cannot become
Like
a
a
man,
Muslim,
which is a
Charlie.
lie.
Hold on one second, Charlie.
But but
How did you get to that
what I wanted to add,
foundational?
what I wanted to ask Rabbi Asher, and this is important for me. Can you be a rabbi without being married? I
Yes.
mean, is it frowned upon in the Jewish community?
No.
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 Okay, so is now I've read in Tanakh, and I've had Tovia Singer structure the notion that Mashiach, Messiah, will be married and leave a heritage for his children.
Put me in, coach.
No.
Put me in,
So
coach.
what I'm asking is the Messiah that we're waiting for. Is he to be married and have kids? That's my question.
Well, it depends who you ask. I mean, according to Maimonides, he's going to reestablish the throne of David, and his son will take over after he passes away. Some people teach he's never going to die. So it depends who you ask. In
Yeah,
terms
but
of,
he's
I think
also going to be somebody that's a human being living and assert himself, and we will know.
yeah. So Jews have
Rabbi
a,
Asher, can Mashiach be an idea or movement instead of a person?
No, that's
no,
panentheism.
well,
You know Rudy Rothman?
I just
Yeah,
honestly
Rudy's
want to know,
wrong.
would he
Don't
have
don't say
a
no,
lineage
Courtney. There are movements who
kids?
believe that.
Yeah,
Because
and that's wrong. That's antithetical to Judaism and everything that the Tanakh
Can you
teaches.
Charlie's
believe that?
talking.
Yeah.
Let Charlie finish. Go ahead, Charlie.
Oh, sorry, Charlie.
So can you be look? So the Torah says we were to populate, we to replenish the earth, right?
Yeah.
Can you be in alignment with Torah and not have a family? You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
Yes.
because I mean the Roman Catholic Church, I mean they made like Messiah, like
Asher,
they
squash this.
made him a priest. They made him a priest who's celibate.
No,
right,
I get it.
which
I
is
get it. I
weird.
get it.
Charlie, I
So
got three questions for you,
so
Charlie.
I think
Wait,
I
hold
mean,
on. Let me try to respond to this
could the
question. All right.
Messiah could the Messiah have been married and could he have kids? And when he comes, could he leave out lineage? That's kind of my question.
Yeah,
From a
yeah.
human
First of all,
perspective.
Asher, tell him problem number one. He's listening to Tovia Singer. Problem number two.
Courtney is Tovia
Toby
Singer's
is not that
nemesis.
bad. I don't agree. It's not bad.
No, well, I mean, Courtney has history with Tovia Singer, but that's between her and Tovia Singer. Here, listen.
No, wait. Well, let's make sure we clear that. Well, you just made that sound weird.
No, not that type of history. You know what I mean.
Okay, yeah. No, I know what you mean, but other people
You're not
don't know
his
what you
baby
mean
mama.
in light of
You
his,
did it. No.
Go ahead, Courtney.
in light of
You're
Rabbi
not his baby
Singer's
mama.
history.
Okay, yes, you know what I mean. Like they're colleagues and like who inhabit the same space. Okay, like religiously. Okay, so
I'm interested in hearing from you, Courtney. Send me a request. I got to hear more from
Won't
you.
get it started
all
on
right, so
Tovia
Jews
Singer.
ideally should procreate. So we have a mitzvah of provu. That doesn't mean that that
Followed you, Bernie.
if you're not able to do it, that you're sinning in it, like you're sinning in any way. Like Rashi, for example, never had sons. In order to fulfill this mitzvah, according to
Or the Rebbe.
right, so the Rebbe didn't have kids at all, right? So that doesn't mean that it was okay for them to have a vasectomy, let's say. So the idea that the Messiah is going to be a regular guy is the opinion of Maimonides, right? Who believes that even the Messiah dies. Now, like if you go by the Ramban and Kabbalah, then the Messiah never dies. Nobody knows anything about the Messiah.
No, nobody knows, but we do believe there will be a Messiah. What happens, that we really don't know. We have all kinds of differences on that.
So I think maybe
could the
Tovia
Messiah
Singer
be
was
someone
talking
who's not?
about Isaiah 53, where it says that he will live to see offspring to in some way disqualify Jesus from being the Messiah. That may have been the argument that you heard, saying that, well, Jesus didn't have any offspring. Paul didn't have any offspring either. Or, I mean, for sure they weren't married. Maybe they had.
In Isaiah 53, which they always choose to quote, they don't, I used to have that when I encountered Jews.
Yeah,
for Jesus.
53
They-
starts in
they
52:13.
53,
I got you. I got you,
They
Bernie.
don't go
I
in the
got
beginning.
you. I got you, Bernie. I got you.
I
got
believe
you.
like he was
All
married.
right,
very
Courtney
badly,
as
in my
well.
opinion. But
Well,
I think,
guess
look, if I convert to Judaism, I can't be a Noahide. There's just no way. I think Noahide is the most ridiculous thing
No,
on
if
the
you convert to
planet.
Judaism, you'll be Jewish. Like, why would you want to
Well,
do that?
Because I mean, Noahides don't keep Torah, and they keep some of it. I'm like, that's
It's a
weird.
silly
You're keeping
movement. I
some of
agree
it.
with you.
it's
So,
stupid.
So,
There we go.
are
Here
you
we
going to
go.
baptize me if I convert to Judaism? Are you going to come to the Magnolia State?
just contact me. Just contact me. Okay, like, we don't use the
Do
word
you also
I
believe
just
that?
got to see
No,
the pundit over here.
I think like I was just curious about him having kids, and the reason
No.
why is because I think when he does come, they already got the temple, well the temple, but they got the they got the altar in front of the temple mount. They got the red heifers without spot or blemish. They have 4 of them. Hamas came out and said that's why they attacked Israel October 7th.
No,
Um,
Charlie.
that's
No,
what I'm
this is
hearing. They're sitting
all
hiding.
right. Don't believe this. Don't believe
Well,
these
I mean,
things.
they had them on CNN, they had it on CBS, they had it on all of the news. They have the red heifers.
Right,
Well,
it's all hype.
Charlie, can I ask you this question? What's your background that you're getting this from? Where were you brought up?
He was a Christian and he became Torah observant, and now he doesn't want to identify as a Christian because of the things of Christendom.
Yeah, but
And
he's also saying
he
things
keeps
he
Torah.
practices.
He keeps
where he's
Torah
getting-
and he listens to
I don't-
Tovia Singer.
I don't
So,
believe
yeah,
Yeshua
it's
is-
wrong.
I don't believe-
Toby
I don't believe- I
Singer
don't
is
believe,
explaining the
I don't
differences
believe
from to
Yeshua is
better
God.
understand.
I don't believe that God could become a man, which is a lie. I don't believe
Okay,
he can become a
It
human
sounds
being.
like your belief system is that of the Muslims.
No, it's not Muslim. No. It's
It
very
is.
different. It's not. Trust me.
No, I
He
No,
is like a part of my
I
people.
know what you're describing as his
I
typical
keep the
background,
Torah.
but the things he's saying right now, in
Muslims
terms
don't
of
keep the biblical feasts. Muslims don't keep Leviticus 11. They
Right.
don't keep Leviticus 23.
He
They
thinks
don't
he
keep
thinks he
Exodus
has to
20.
keep the Torah. He thinks he has to keep the Torah in order to be saved.
I think like if I'm not Shema, if I don't listen, hear, and obey, and I don't keep God, Elohim's Torah, then I'm sinning. Right? I think the way you love Hashem is you keep His commandments, and if you don't keep His commandments, do you love Him? That's kind of like my prerogative. So
all right, let's move forward. Let's move
But
forward.
I just one last thing, Courtney, you can take chin. How do you put that together with him saying that he believes Jesus is was something special?
Well, I
Because
think,
I've
like,
been
in
doing
Matthew-
this.
Well,
I've
in
been
Matthew
doing this for a
chapter-
long time,
in
Bernie.
Matthew,
I know,
Matthew
but
chapter
how
1
do you-
gives
This is a past
the
well
overview
trodden-
What would your
of
answer be?
Yeshua. I
What would your
think
answer
Jesus
be?
was an actual man. I don't believe he was anything like. I think
He's just a Unitarian.
I think he was. I think he's the son of Joseph, right? And he has to be in order to be linked to King David. In my opinion.
Yes.
Now, could I be wrong? Sure.
Yeah.
I used to be a Mormon, right? And so I left Mormonism and converted to following the Torah. And in Mormonism, they believe in 3 divine gods, and then it's a very different doctrine.
it's definitely a
But,
step up.
I studied Mormonism, and then when I found out, God's name Hashem was 7,000 times in Tanakh, I'm like, what else do I not know? And then I found out I didn't know nothing. I didn't know anything.
That's
And
that macaroon stuff.
The closer I get to Torah, well, it has nothing to do with macaroon. It's the closer I get to.
Yeah, let's
to
move
the
on,
Torah
okay.
and to-
But no,
to
it
Hashem.
is. But Charlie.
I want to know more. I want to know
Yeah,
more.
okay,
Right?
Okay,
Charlie.
Charlie.
No,
Charlie,
no,
if you want to know more, you have to
Alon is on the
understand
chat.
that.
He's been waiting already. Alone.
I'm sorry.
It's been a while. Like we're all friends with Alone. Like Baloney Aloni. Welcome, Alone.
Rabbi,
Okay,
you've
is
got
it,
to
is
let
it
Courtney
true
talk,
that you
otherwise
have
she's
to-
going to explode.
No,
Is
it's
it true
fine. It's
that
good.
that's
You were in New York recently, weren't you?
Yes, I was in Manhattan for a day.
Oh, I seen that. That's weird.
Yeah,
Could've called
I did
me.
stop by.
Yes.
So Alon is Bukharian. Oh well, Bernie lives in Crown Heights, so you guys are like you're where? Like you're in Flushing? Where you at, Alon?
Yes, I'm in Fresh Meadows, in Queens.
Yep.
So Alon is belongs to the Bukharian community, the lovely community of.
I know it well. Do you know the Cheberchnaya, Shalachnaya restaurant?
Chiborechna.
Gabarichna, yes.
Yes.
I know the owner, and I do services for him for his online order.
I know the owner as well. Yeah.
Isaac,
Хорошо. Smirt kommunistom.
how about that?
All right, lovely. You see, we're all one big family. That's called Jewish
Rabbi
geography.
Asha, I bet you couldn't wait to get the hell out of New York real quick,
Oh, I
huh?
hate New York. I'm born in Passaic, by the way, which is not too far now. It's like super from. I can't stand New York. It's too congested.
That's okay. Don't get offended. I don't like Florida, so it's okay.
Everybody, well, compared to New York. Anyway, I don't know about it. But anyways, yeah. So this people.
I want to go to the States. Where can I go? What's good?
Go to New York
Yeah.
City.
Come to
Well, the two
Brooklyn.
largest-
Well, if you want to
Brooklyn,
meet
New
a
York,
bunch of
Crown Heights.
Jews, you have 2 options. You
Crown
have New
Heights.
York or you have or you have Florida. There you go.
Yeah, that's your
Yeah.
two big options.
Yeah, but what's nice for vacation?
Disney World.
No,
Yeah, Florida. That's Florida.
Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, Florida's the place to be. Well, anyways,
And Utah, is that something?
there are
Oh,
good
no,
things
no,
in
no,
Utah.
no,
No,
no.
no, no, no.
Yeah, rarely. But what you just witnessed is Jewish geography. You see Bernie and Alon, they're like, where are you from? Who do you know in common? Now I can trust you. You see, this is kind of like, observing the Jew in their natural habitat. Just don't get too close because they might bite.
So
I guess,
true.
Rabbi, you still don't trust me then.
No, I trust you. I mean, I
Yeah.
see that you have a few ideas that I disagree with, and I'll say it because it's a hot topic here. The idea that if you're irreligious, you shouldn't call yourself a Jewish person because then even religious people will get painted by the actions that you're doing. I think it's quite clear, right?
So
I mean,
the Brit Milah means nothing?
what do you mean? I mean, a bris is just a sign of the covenant, but yes, it means nothing if the person's not from.
Wow.
I
Strong
mean,
words.
non-Jews I was circumcised as a child too. I mean, that doesn't mean
That was for health reasons, not because of religious
No,
reasons.
I understand, but you can't do
No,
it.
the Egyptians did it as well.
You got
Even
2 billion Muslims who were circumcised.
for religious reasons as well.
But you can't thrust like something upon someone else like outside of their will. So it's true, you could convert a baby to Judaism, but unless that baby accepts Torah in their life, that conversion, I mean, there is
I
Jewish
know what
as
you're
well.
trying to say, Rabbi, but the way you're saying it, it doesn't come out very well. You got to find the proper word.
Why do we have
I feel it comes out very Jewish. I think it's very Jewish how he says it.
I'm saying it with
I-
chutzpah. Yeah.
To say somebody who's Jewish should not call themselves Jewish, even because they're secular and not knowledgeable, that's a very strong.
And he's going against 99.9% of all rabbis who would disagree with him.
No, I know.
Of course.
I know they would. And this is why people tune to me because they know I'm honest.
Yeah,
here.
but
Now we have to go
this
to the
conversation.
sources. We have to go to the sources.
Then it's easy. I mean, it says in the prophets, I'm not big on quoting the prophets. It says, woe to those who call good bad and bad good. If we know that being Jewish nowadays means to the non-Jewish mind being in a covenant with God, being part of God's chosen people, but you're driving on Shabbos, you're behaving unethical in business. Like you have a porn shop, let's say.
Chilu Hashem.
Mezuzah, right? Wait, hold on. You have a pornography shop, but there's a mezuzah on the door, right?
No. Oh my God.
No, or anything, or give me something unethical. I don't know, like how.
The rabbi that owns the biggest porn site in the world.
Yeah,
Shmuel
Shmuel
Batay's
Bataya.
daughter.
Okay, lahavdil.
Your example was a good one. The rabbi that owns the Pornhub, the biggest porn website on the world. He's a rabbi.
Yes,
And
yes.
He's not a
yes.
rabbi.
Really?
He
He
may
is.
call himself
No,
rabbi,
he is a rabbi.
but he's not a
No, no,
rabbi.
He is a rabbi.
He is a
He's
rabbi.
got shmicha and he's a rabbi.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
it-
He's
and he
got
does
smicha.
that?
Then wait a minute,
Yes,
Rabbi
yes.
Asher,
He
then
just
So
bought a website.
therefore, he's not
according-
following.
Rabbi Asher, then according to you, then there's I would say less than 100,000 Jews in the world.
Absolutely. And I agree with Rabbi Mizrahi on this, by the way, because Rabbi Mizrahi, like in terms of like the Shoah,
Where
like,
there's money, there are Jews.
No, that's a truth.
Oh, it's a joke.
that-
It's a joke.
I'm not denying that
might
they're
hurt.
Jewish, by the way. If your mother's Jewish, you're halakhically Jewish. But just like I'm pretty sure a Muslim that wouldn't want someone behaving un-Muslim-like and calling themselves Muslims, I don't want people, doing things that are unethical and calling themselves Jewish. I don't want Bernie Madoff to identify as a Jew. Okay, why? Because then they're going to think that Judaism condones his actions. I don't want, I'm sure Christians that wouldn't want anyone who does any atrocity and at the same time saying
Right.
Christian.
I gotta work on this one.
Yeah, but see, the difference with
what if-
Christianity is we don't focus and make an identity marker out of being, quote, Christian or being Jewish, right? Like, so that's the difference. So it's more, for us, it's like, no, get this wackadoo out. Stop saying you're Christian. You're not. But whenever you have someone that identifies as Jewish and is deeply embedded in the ethnic part of the religion, then of course it's going to be problematic to them. They're going to take offense as if you've just told them their face is ugly,
Right. So that's my next
the
question, Rabbi
Muslims-
Asher. If
The
I keep
Muslims and the Jews, of the Muslims, the Christians, all the faiths in the world, They say, come to us, come to us, come to us. Only the Jews said, think twice, think
Well, not me.
10 times.
Not me. Not me.
Because
You came
when
to the
you
wrong channel,
convert,
Sonia.
you are for life. It's not a joke.
No, I mean, how
Because
does
it's
he
not
encourage
easy
people?
being a Jew.
Okay, anyways, Alon, go ahead. What's your question?
So my question to you is, I don't keep Shabbos, I don't keep kashrut.
Uh-huh.
I dedicated my mind and soul to the religion in terms of identifying as a Jew. I was born Jewish, if that matters any, according to you, I guess it doesn't. But so my question to you is, am I, and I'm not going to take offense to it, am I Jewish or not?
No,
According
you're
to
Jewish.
you.
are.
Hold on.
Of course
If
you
your
are.
mother's Jewish, you're Jewish. Okay. However, you shouldn't tell people, breaking Shabbos is not unethical. Eating pork is not unethical, right? I mean, it's like a mitzvah ben adam lemakom. It's like between you and God. However, if you break,
It's not unethical, Rabbi. Are you sure about that?
Hold on one second. I think I got to get into this just a second. I'm taking it for face value that he says he's Jewish, so I'm assuming he's Jewish. Let's take it for face value that his mother was, his grandmother, and so on.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take that for face value. And he asked the question, because he's not observant, he's not considered Jewish?
No, he is Jewish.
Yeah, of course he is.
There's a distinction.
Asher, you have to start making a distinction. You confuse people whenever you say these things. I've been your friend for a very long time, so I know what you mean. But you have to make sure you make a distinction whenever you say not Jewish.
Okay. If your mother's Jewish, Chazal decided that if your mother's Jewish, because it doesn't appear like this in the Chumash, you're halakhically Jewish. That means that if you lived in biblical Israel, the Sanhedrin would adjudicate you for breaking the Sabbath. Okay, while a Gentile, they wouldn't adjudicate. But that doesn't mean that you're born into a covenant with God, right? I mean, it says that we read in the Haggadah that the evil son, it says if you were in Egypt, you would not have been redeemed. Saying like only because you happen to be an Israelite, according to Jewish law, doesn't mean that you're in a covenant with God, doesn't mean that you're part of the chosen people. Very similar to Islam, how someone could be born a Muslim, but if they don't stay like on the Islamic path, they don't have the right to identify with the religion that they don't practice. So if they would say, I'm ethnically Jewish, but I'm not religious, is one thing. If someone just says, I'm Jewish, and they do all the atrocities in the world, what ends up happening is that religious Jews end up dying for the sins of unaffiliated Jews. And this is essentially what happened during World War II.
But you also said that it's not unethical. Doesn't Judaism teach that being a Mechalal Shabbat is worse than being a murderer?
No, okay. So,
Yeah, but
first
that's
of all-
based.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Okay, wait, hold on. It's an embellishment. That's an embellishment. I mean, just like speaking Lashon Hara is worse than unaliving someone. That's just an embellishment. Clearly, there's a distinction between commandments between man and commandments between man and God. We think that the commandments between man and man are, like unaliving someone is not the same as eating pork. Okay, clearly there's a distinction. Now, eating pork makes you unholy. It doesn't make you unethical. However,
Impure.
Well, I'm just speaking about being a Mechalel Shabbat here, as opposed to not keeping kashrut.
But that's based on you sinning against Hashem, right? It's not necessarily like it's ethical, like oh my gosh, you went up and you punched a person in the face. Like it's not unethical in that sense, is what he's saying.
Right.
Right. It's not unethical to.
But I think you're defining
pork.
it. You're defining it in the in the context of almost a liberal society, how it defines ethics. This is Jewish ethics, and being a Mechalal Shabbat is one of the worst things that you can be.
Okay,
right?
morality. No. It's only one of the worst things you could do according to the religion.
Right.
But okay.
Well, what does it mean to be Jewish then?
It means that you're keeping commandments, but there's a distinction.
So if I'm not keeping commandments, I'm not Jewish.
No. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm sorry. I mean, I misspoke. Being Jewish means, what does it mean? It means that you're liable. You're liable for punishments of the Sanhedrin. That's all it means. Being in a covenant with God is something else. Okay, the word Jewish doesn't even appear in the Torah ever. Okay, well, the only place it appears, I think, is in like Megillah Esther. I mean, that it calls, like...
Yeah.
Right.
By that time, the word Jew, was used colloquially for all the tribes.
The word is Israel. You have Israelites who are in a covenant with God.
Just want to point out conversation live with a bunch of people. And no, 1 second. And the gentleman who was asking about the Jewish question, this takes a lot more study, and there are many, many different opinions. As you know, the old adage goes, two Jews, three
Two, three
opinions.
opinions.
No, no, no,
And so
no. I mean, I think I'm right.
you're asking specific people who are giving you different opinions, but there are many people who have a different opinion.
No, but they can't
who can
explain it. That's a
align
That's
different
right.
thing.
No, Bernie, that's right. But there is a mainstream opinion, right? There's a mainstream opinion, and there's
My opinion
other
is not the
opinions.
mainstream opinion, by the way.
I understand
That's
that.
correct.
Right?
That's correct.
However,
He's not
I
the
think the
mainstream.
mainstream opinion is bigoted. I'll tell you what the
Okay,
mainstream
hold
opinion
it.
is. The
Rabbi,
mainstream
before we
opinion is
get to
if you
that,
have
so
a
I
Jewish-
wanted to ask the gentleman who believes, who's not Shomer Shabbat, right? That's the gentleman?
Yeah.
Yeah, along.
What do you, so you have an affinity, obviously. Have you had any background parents that were religious?
No, but I'm surrounded by a lot of religious people.
Therefore, you feel what? Are you
You know
walking
what
around
I
the street
feel? I
with
feel
a
I don't
heavy head?
understand it. I can't do something I don't understand. I don't want to be a sheep. I don't want to follow the herd.
So do what I did. Do what I
Putting
did,
on-
even
putting
though
on
I grew up Orthodox, and I did that like a sheep in the beginning because when I was school. But when I became an adult, I started to do my own research and my own learning and finding my answers.
Right, I
and
do
come to
that
a
too.
point.
I do that too. But I can't seem to find a good enough reason
For what?
for many things, and keeping Shabbat is one.
Well, it's very interesting. Shabbat is such a beautiful thing. It's kept by people who are not even so religious to begin with, because it's just a time. I guess.
Bernie, you're working against me here, Bernie. I mean, like, Bernie's giving the opposite advice, by the way. Which is
I'm
good.
not giving opposite advice. I'm trying. He's trying to
We have a
find
balanced
meaning.
approach here. Okay,
I
this
feel like
he's
I'm
trying to-
cornered
he's
and I'm
trying-
told to do what.
No. You have to come to
Along
a
question.
point.
Why do you not want to do it? Let's start there.
Right. Good question.
Why not? Because it's something that I don't want to do.
Because
He's
they
told
can
you he
do-
doesn't
because- is it
understand it,
because-
and he doesn't understand it,
no,
and he
no,
doesn't
no,
want to do
Because
it
I
just
don't
because others
understand
do.
it, and
Okay.
even if I did, I don't want to lose my free will.
Yeah,
You don't lose
So,
free will.
hold on. So is it because like Friday night is an interesting night where you live? You want to go out on the town? You want to be with your friends? Is it kind of
Well,
like
things
that?
like that. Yeah, I want to entertain myself,
Yeah,
watch
okay.
TV, watch a movie, relax.
That's one of
do as-
Era.
Oh.
Hold on, that's one of Era.
Right.
You have 613 commandments that you can keep. It says, and I believe this, that if a Jew sins, he's still a Jew. As long as you're able to articulate where your values come from, even though you don't keep them perfectly, you could still identify as Israel because we're not perfect. However, if someone says, I don't believe in God, but I'm Jewish, it makes us all look like crap. You know what I mean?
Out of respect, I don't do a lot of things, even though I don't understand. Out of respect, I don't do a lot. I don't fly. I don't-
Respect should not be the reason why you do something
Yeah.
or don't do something. You should, again, I don't know, I understand what you're trying to say because you're surrounded in the community, so there's a little bit of influence. But I think, you haven't found the answer yet. That's what you're basically saying.
With
You don't
respect, Bernie, I
understand.
would say if he's clinging on to the reason of respect, let him cling on to it until he finds the right reason.
Guess what I just said? He's got to find
It
the
could
right
be. It
reasons
could be
because-
also out of fear.
I think
whatever, I don't know.
you only want to live by another expectation. How you say
Expectation.
Expectations.
know what?
expectations from the community, but you cannot find yourself like that.
No, it's. I know what he's saying. You know what? It's just
Yeah.
convenience. You know what? Shabbat is nice, but I want to go to television. I want
It's
to go out of
what's
town.
What's nice to you might not be so nice to me.
By the way, there's nothing not nice. I don't know what. I'd love to hear why do you think Shabbat is not nice? What is Shabbat? Tell me what in your opinion Shabbat is.
I mean, it's to me, it is what it is in terms.
No.
Getting together,
Tell me
getting the
what it is.
family,
Tell me what it
giving-
is. You may have a complete wrong understanding what Shabbat is. Shabbat is a day of rest.
Right.
It's a time to be with your family. Get away from the
But you see
world
what you're
for a little
saying.
bit.
You're telling me what is
I'm not
rest.
telling you what to do.
To me,
You don't
rest
see-
is maybe smoking a cigarette on the beach, relaxing, driving a car, taking a trip out. Those things are, to me, I would take as rest and relaxing. And
Okay, so you are Jewish. You're just not a
And then
Orthodox
things like, you know, having a, and I told this to Rabbi Asher, you know, during the holidays and Shabbat, they have auctions on Aliyah and this and that, and those kind of things kind of push me away from.
So why are you involved there? I don't understand that. You put yourself in a position to get more confused.
It gives me justification to continue to do what I.
So you're spiraling back and forth. It just makes it harder.
Yes, it is.
You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. Either you want to believe that or you don't. There's no halfway.
Rabbi, I go, and so somebody else can come.
Oh, we have room.
But
for
I look. I continue looking.
Okay.
Have a nice evening, everybody. Thank you all.
Good Shabbos.
Yeah.
Courtney, how do I?
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you,
Courtney, how do
Sonia.
I hear your
Thank
thoughts
you.
in general? Do you have a platform or like Singer did?
I do, yes. If you click my face right here.
You know,
And
sometimes
then-
I feel like the Christians are so lucky, or those are not, because they have no restrictions.
Oh my God.
Alon, Christianity is waiting for you, brother.
I'm
Achi.
scared. It's like putting a kid in a candy store and be like, "Hey,
You know,
Well,
I'm
no,
glad that
Christianity has
Bernie-
rules, believe it or
I
not.
mean, I'm glad that Bernie found this platform because
Does it?
you could
Yes.
be doing anything.
Johnson, you've said that
Wait, hold
before.
on. I mean, Bernie could be doing anything Erev Shabbos, and he's here trying to guide a Jew back to Torah. You know, so I mean, it's a schus. I mean, like
I would
think
advise you
Bernie-
to keep Shabbos and not be a Machalel Shabbat.
You're like a fanatic. You know,
That approach is not going to work. You can't tell somebody what to do. They have to do it for their
I
own.
advised him.
I
It was
have
just
to
advice.
understand it." Same thing with
You have
putting
to
on
understand
tefillin.
it.
A lot of people putting on tefillin into the Chabad. Did you put tefillin? Did you put tefillin? Explain. Instead of forcing people to put on tefillin, explain to them. You know,
Okay,
teach them
one
how to
minute.
fish. Don't just give them
What is your
a
name?
meal.
I forgot. What's your first
Alon.
name? What's your first name?
Alon.
Alone.
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 You're taking. I'm sensing this. Okay, I'm sensing out of you, sort of not more than just what you were explaining. This is sort of like a resentment built in. I can't pinpoint it yet, because Chabad, for instance, you bring up that film. They don't force you by gunpoint to do something. They approach you in a nice way to maybe bring a spark to somebody who has no idea. That's their goal. They're not forcing you. Nobody pushes a gun to your head, and then the way you respond is to
Right,
that.
but
The way
as
you
they're
do that,
putting on the
you're just like in a
tefillin, they should be
resentment.
explaining
It's
it
like,
to people.
They're trying to get, and you can get explanation. I think you have pre-set views.
But I'm hearing what they're regurgitating from other rabbis and other people, and they're just
You
like,
got to come to, you got to come to your own conclusion. That's what I did. You cannot go.
I do research.
Answers.
I try to understand it, but the more I do, the more
I don't. You maybe have not gone to the right place.
maybe
Alon, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
49.
Really? You
Yes.
don't sound 49.
Yeah,
I
why
know,
You say
I
it
don't-
like
I-
that, Johnson.
And are you Bukharian?
Yes.
Yeah.
sounds
Grew
like
up
I
in the
thought he was in his
Bukharian
20s.
community, which is its own community, its own culture on its own, coming from a different area. So there's differences major. Now that I'm a little bit more involved, I see it. And all my life didn't. But that's okay. But it's totally different. I've been to a Bukharian wedding and how they do things. It's a different culture. But that doesn't mean there's still people that are following. Is every Bukharian Shomer Shabbat? Is
Absolutely not.
Well, no.
Of course not. Is every Jew Shabbat? No. But you have
Unless
to.
you ask Asha.
And you just have to. I think you have to explore outside the box. I don't think you've done it.
It's not all or nothing. Okay,
It's not all or nothing.
Yeah,
and I
just
think
because you're not Shomer Shabbos doesn't
Yeah,
mean.
or even tefillin. There's many.
But
other
then you get the Bukharian community with Rabbi Mizrahi, Mot Yumat, break the Shabbos.
So there you're answering. Okay, I
Yeah.
got it right to the point. Now I see it.
That's the
So
problem.
you are listening to your local rabbi who's
Well,
maybe
no.
explained-
I many rabbis.
many rabbis, but you haven't gone to rabbis that are very open, who welcome people like you and take the time to explain, and then you can observe them.
Lenny, are you
and
saying
get a
there's something
different
wrong
feeling.
with Yossi Mizrahi?
No, I'm just saying look at I'm just listening to what he's saying about him. So therefore, he's not going to change anything if he keeps on using him as the sample.
He is a little bit extreme.
Okay, there are extremes, but you got to go in the middle way. I don't believe in extremism. I believe there's a centrist way and an understanding way. And I don't think you've been out of the box.
That's why I love watching and hearing and listening to Rabbi Asher, because number one, he wasn't born into it. And number two, he has like a bird's eye view kind of from the outside.
So
looking
therefore,
in.
so then you should respect him that he believes in Shabbat and all those things more than me. Just the opposite. How would that not interest you more that here's a former Christian who's dedicated himself to become a Jew? Not only that, to become a rabbi and believe in all those things. That's a great person to find out why he got to that place. It took him understanding. And I think you got to find that understanding, whether it's rabbi or somebody else like him.
That's what I need to find out and understand. What is it that you religious people see in keeping Shabbat?
What do I see?
Yes.
You know what? Well, Courtney, you want to take that?
Courtney is not Jewish.
Wait, what did I'm sorry, someone was asking about someone else
I gotta
coming
say,
up.
I'm a little
that, Bernie. You're the
confused
Jewish
as to
guy.
the basis of this whole
Wait a minute,
lie.
Courtney's not Jewish?
No, she's Christian.
No, I'm a Christian. I keep Torah though, so that's why I was able to identify.
This conversation is getting more interesting, Courtney.
You've got a Muslim. You've got Courtney. I don't know. Messianic Jew. You've got
Messianic.
Wow. Oh boy, I can have hours and hours of discussion with all of you.
Now this is like the epitome of a good religious joke, right?
Yeah. But I'm very fascinated to know, I've encountered, and this is more of my learning, getting a feeling from other people such as yourselves. It enlightens me, by the way. And in a lot of ways, it strengthens my faith in some way, but I love having a civil, like I've been having, I love having this open, honest
It's always
discussion.
better to have a strong Jewish or Christian faith than not to have it.
Yes.
I have a question
we have
to Rabbi
different
Asher.
levels of belief, but to Elon, I think you've got to research more and look more outside. If you need my help, you're not going to get there if you just go into sources and
Alon, you don't see how society has become so toxic and denigrated and just breaking down, and then you see strong religious communities that are the stalwart against that. That's why people keep Shabbat, because it connects them to their community, so that their
these
communities are not
communities,
really
you can
infiltrated
look
by
outside of,
people
you could
who
look
divide them.
outside of, and at these communities and think it's all peaches and cream.
No
But they
community
could be all rotten on the inside, and I know many people.
Alon's not wrong. Wait, Alon's not wrong. Alon's not wrong there. It could definitely be rotten, right? And we acknowledge this. But listen, Hashem is the only one that can see inside of a person, right? Alon, we can't necessarily dictate that just because things look like.
I don't agree that Alon is right on this. I think that just because people are religious, it doesn't mean that there are some bad people. These are human beings, after all.
I agree 100%.
No, yes, but
Being
what
religious
he's
doesn't
saying
mean
is
that you're not a human being anymore. There's toxic Jewish people, there's toxic Muslim people,
right, but that's not what his
and rotten ones. It's not all peaches and cream, but generally it's better.
Yes,
right. But what he's saying
he was saying that that's what his anger is. His anger is
right.
Because
Hypocrites.
they dress apart.
Right.
They may not act the part. And that's 100% true. I had this with the rabbi the other week, and he uses the word "from" for religious. And to me, that's
That's not a fair thing to expect, just because somebody is aspiring
it's a
to be
four-letter
from.
word to me, because you don't judge a book by its cover, and there are people that put on that, and they may look to you outside, but they're not faithful or doing everything under the sun. And yet there are people who don't have that appearance and are wonderful in their faith and they're loving.
Rabbi Asher, may I
That's
ask you a question?
generalizing. Each individual has to answer himself.
All right, let the new guy ask a question. What's up, bro?
I was drawn to the live because I saw that text that you have at the top, and I thought that the basis of it confused me a little, since Judaism is against the idea of proselytizing religion. We don't actively seek to.
Here we go, Rabbi.
It didn't used to be.
Okay.
Well, at no point. It's
Wait,
in
hold on,
fact
hold on, hold
there are
on.
even rules about saying no to.
I think you've got to take a step back on
Wait,
this one.
you understand? You understand that there's a lot. Okay.
Okay, so there's no source in Judaism to push people away. There's no source. I know that's what's done nowadays. There's actually more sources in the Gemara to reach out to Gentiles to bring them to Judaism than to do kiruv or shlichut for unaffiliated Jews. And I'm for both. Reaching out to, but there's just no source prohibiting it. Right?
I'm going
I
to
know
find
Jews
out.
don't
I
do it.
promised, Rabbi. I got to get back to you on that.
But
I know, I'm at your rabbi, but it's just
have the
trust
Jewish
me.
people at any point historically proselytized Judaism?
Yes.
Sought to
Yes.
Not as a
convert
general
Yes.
sense, no.
Yes.
Yes,
Not in a
yes.
general sense.
Read Paul Johnson's History of the Jews.
Oh, here we go.
Salo Baron. The New Testament talks about it. Heck, the Talmud tells us that we're in gullus to acquire converts. Jews used to proselytize. The
I'm
Emperor
sorry.
Hadrian
I'm
outlawed.
sorry. Why were they so frustrated?
find a
Why were
source
they so
for-
frustrated in Christianity with the Jews? Because they didn't want to convert to Christianity. They wanted to maintain their Jewishship, and they did not turn over. And that's when
That's a totally different topic.
I know that. But
reaching
you're just
out
saying they. Well, anyway, you're right. Go on.
The Jews weren't allowed to do it in their host country, in the countries they were exiled to. The Emperor Hadrian outlawed proselytizing. Kabbalah made it harder, for people who wanted to join. So people think nowadays that it's not allowed. There's just no source
I
prohibiting.
didn't say.
Well,
I'm not saying
I
it's
don't-
not allowed. I just said before we have enough of our own that are away from it and need to try to reach them as opposed to going in and standing on the street corner and trying to proselytize in religion. That's my point.
I don't consider an unaffiliated Jew part of my own. Even though they have.
That's a problem. I disagree with
why
you
would you-
strongly.
Why would you feel that way? That's
Because I don't elevate blood over ethics.
You see, because he comes from a
think that
different
you
background.
should, though.
You have to be growing up Christian and to have that feeling.
don't think
A
that's a
regular
bigoted
person growing
idea?
up would
Wait,
not
wait,
feel
hold
that
on.
way.
That's not fair, Bernie. That's not fair.
If an Asian
I'm
person-
sorry. He's basically because
hold
he's
on,
saying
hold
things from a background that
Just because you
If
believe
a
that doesn't
Jew
mean you
no
believe
longer
that.
believes in
Chris.
God, I think that it's, if anything, immoral for me to now no longer consider him a Jew.
Wait, hold on.
He's of the nation of Israel.
Okay,
There's
so
nothing that could ever remove that from his heritage.
yeah, but that has nothing to do with religion. In other words, God doesn't expect you to reach out to someone because of DNA over someone who is sincerely interested in God. For example, if someone wants to convert, they're going to push them away. But someone who happens to be born of a Jewish mother who doesn't care about God, they're going to give them free trips to Israel, right? It's bigoted at its core.
Wait, I don't understand that whatsoever.
Rabbi,
It's
you gotta hit him with your
it's
baby
bigoted
example.
To offer
what?
trips to Israel for Jews that don't believe in God.
Yes, yes.
That's a
No.
ridiculous
Oh my
narrative. Why would
If
you
you're
think
doing
that?
it under the
What's
auspices
this
of
fellow's name?
religion, then it's bigoted because you're saying that God cares more for an unaffiliated Jew than an unaffiliated Gentile.
It's not about caring. It's about the basis of culture, nationality, heritage.
No, but that has nothing to
Nothing
do with
can
God
change.
in the Bible.
He's right. He's right. That young fellow. I agree with him.
Bernie, you're not helping.
We're not a religion. Judaism isn't a religion.
We
It's
are
a
a
people.
religion.
No, it's a
We're
family.
a
It's a way of
peoplehood.
life.
We're
It's
a
a
way
way
of life. It's a peoplehood. And we're not a
Exactly.
religion.
And
We
it's,
are
and
not.
it's always been considered not a religion
Not according
because
to
we
the
don't
Torah.
actively proselytize.
We do actively. We used
But
to.
you
actively
used
proselytize.
to.
Right,
Are
but
you
Judaism is
listening?
more than just a belief in God.
No.
It
For
is
sure, it's
blood.
more than just a belief. It's an obedience of God as well. If you don't.
Okay, wait.
obey
I want
belief-
wait
But it's both.
really fast, Asher. Let's mark that he just said that it's blood. Okay. We have other rabbis on here on this app that say blood quantums are something that is linked to the mustache man. So are you now identifying blood quantums with Jews? Yes or no?
I'm sorry. I don't understand. I'm not saying that on the basis of eugenics. It's blood in the sense that I value my father because he's my father, and I value another Jew because he's part of my family. There's a
Right,
connection there
okay.
that doesn't exist
So-
with non-Jews. That's where the blood
So that just means culture, right? That doesn't necessarily have anything to do with
but
dam.
the culture is tied to the genetic heritage, being born into Judaism.
Okay,
Someone
that's
who's not
blood
born
quantum.
into a Jewish family isn't born into the culture.
Hold on.
So obviously, blood
No.
has
You
something
can
to do
live.
with it.
You can be like a necher. You can be like a necher and be in and around a Jewish family and be very endowed with the culture.
Yes, of course.
But you actually be nothing but a goy.
Well, the thing is, you're phrasing that as though you're painting this narrative that Jews look down upon goys, and that this perspective that I'm bringing in valuing the importance of familial ties, right? Which is what I mean when I
get that.
blood,
No, I understand
that I'm
the culture.
somehow
Well, let me talk-
putting
let me talk
down
about-
those who are not connected to me through genetics,
Courtney,
which is not what I'm
sorry,
saying.
Courtney. Okay, hold on.
Very well said, by the way, young man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bertie, for like working against me. Fine. Okay, listen. I'm not against, if all short people want to start a foundation for short people, that doesn't bother me, right? However, when someone says that God cares about DNA, that bothers me, right? As an ethnic Jewish person,
but that's also not something that I said, and that's not.
I
a
know.
general Jewish consensus.
I'm getting there.
You're completely misconstruing.
Wait for the point. Wait for the.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry.
Okay, so this is why I'm talking about the religious aspect. When I say Judaism, I think God and Torah. I'm not thinking Jewish ethnicity. For sure, you should appreciate your ethnicity, expand your ethnicity, but not call it Judaism.
Can I ask a question?
It's all part of one.
Can I ask a question?
It's all part of the Trinity. It's all part of the
Consistent.
Trinity of Judaism.
Dante, can I
You
ask
mean to
a
tell me
quick
you
question?
cut me off for this, Asher?
Hold on. It hurts the belief system to assume that God cares about people because of DNA. God says that Israel will only be
you keep on taking it to this place of DNA, which is not where I was trying to go with that.
Let me just ask
Okay,
you.
so do Jewish soul. Do you believe in a Jewish soul?
Yes, actually, it has
Okay.
much more to do with spirituality, intrinsic spirituality.
Okay, so you think the best, you think the flesh has nothing to do with the actual nefesh?
Look, right here. Look.
Okay.
Well, wait, no, that's a question, right? Do you believe you find these in a dualistic idea that they're completely separate from each other?
Could you wait? Sorry, say that
So
again.
flesh and blood, Besser and Dam. Okay, so then you have nefesh, right? Or are you talking more like what are you
talking about your nefesh?
Your soul, your
neshama?
nefesh, yeah, and then your neshama, the higher level. Okay. So which one do you attribute when you say the Jewish soul, but then you separate that from the actual flesh and blood?
Maybe.
I would.
I'm still not understanding your question.
No, let me. I think I'm going to answer. Okay. You're trying to bring up that, assume that he's saying that the soul is different than flesh and blood. Okay? I'm saying to you that it's all part. We were born, God created us with a soul, and all human beings, by the way, it's not just us. And in our soul is part of everything that we do. We are not a religion only. We're a religion, we're a family, we're a peoplehood, and so on and so forth, going down from 3,000 years.
That's still not quite it, though, because we're not bodies that contain souls. We are souls that have bodies.
Okay, so are they one?
We are, the essence of us is something far more than what's contained in physicality.
Okay, do you find there to be an intrinsic devaluing of a non-Jew's soul?
No, of course not.
Okay, so
I'm
asking you, if you are
non-Jews have used throughout history to persecute Jews, where they claim that this is our ideology, that we
is it not an ideology that the Jewish soul? If you have Asher uses an example all the time. If you have two babies sitting on a table, one is a Jewish baby, one is a non-Jewish baby.
I hate that.
Why? Wait. Why do you hate that?
You're saying that
first of all, it's such a hyperbole. It's not a realistic.
No, it's a very fair question, actually. But I think Asher asks it very well.
I think I disagree with the basis on which the question is asked, because I think that it's posing a scenario in which you're trying to, like I was referring to before.
Just answer the question. I think it's easy enough to answer.
It's not.
It
And
is.
I,
It's
I,
very.
I could answer it, but I'd have to go a bit more in
Honestly,
depth.
I think you've given good answers to date, but you're side skipping this one, and it's easy enough to answer.
Maybe a little bit because it's not as easy of an answer to give as you
Which
think.
I said the same thing.
So which one is
It's
more
easy to.
valuable?
It is easy to
On a
answer.
lot of
It's
debate
not
panels.
because the terminology that you're using is what I disagree with. So I'm
Okay,
not.
what
so
terminology
Respond
would
with
you
your own
prefer?
terminology.
So
Respond
What
with your own
terminology would you prefer?
So what I'm talking about is this idea of value, meaning that I'm trying to think of a way to really word this well. Could you hold on? Give me a sec. No, I don't think that if your situation where there are two babies, one is a non-Jew and one is a Jew, that the Jew. Honestly, you know what? I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure I even understand the question. Are you insinuating?
Yeah, I had the same thing. I might try to catch me in that one.
It's not a difficult question.
It
It's
is.
really not.
It is.
If you
I
think-
understand what you're referring to. Is who is valuing one over the other?
All right, Courtney. So let me try, Courtney.
Go ahead, Asher.
Okay, hold on one second. The question is there any spiritual difference? Any spiritual difference between those two babies at that point? Let's say 9
Yes.
days old.
Yes, but that's not to say that one is less valuable than the other. There's just a difference in spirituality, which is the Jewish concept behind being born with a Jewish soul.
Okay. But so you believe
Good
that
answer.
one has to keep more commandments than the other?
Yeah. Well, I suppose so. It's a part of what one will grow up in a culture where they are expected to follow certain commandments and the other is not. And
No, in that moment, just in the moment, not what they are expected
a
of,
baby isn't
right?
expected to follow commandments because it's a baby.
No,
I don't
are
know
you?
what you're trying to say.
Is a Jewish soul
explain the spiritual
something which is more?
Sorry.
What was that?
I wanted him to explain what's the spiritual difference between the two babies. Where does that come from?
The idea of a Jewish soul. That the Jewish people have a covenant with God that's immortal. It started with Abraham and continues until now. It's undying, and it continues with every new Jew that is born. If you're born into a Jewish family, your mother is Jewish, you have adopted that Jewish soul, that intrinsic connection with God that other people might have a different
So
experience.
that's the question. That's the question. So do you
Isn't
believe
the promise
that
of Abraham of all nations,
just one
not
second.
just of one
Yes.
Two,
nation?
two babies that are
Covenant
born
is between God and the Jewish people, not God.
Yeah, so
and
with
that
two
specific
babies that are
covenant I'm
born,
referring
one
to.
with a Jewish soul and one without a Jewish soul, is one baby's soul closer and more beloved to God than the other?
Not closer to God, yes, but you keep on bringing it to this value system of more beloved, that God now doesn't care about the other.
Wait, what does closer to Hashem mean to you?
Well, the whole religion basis
hold on,
of
Bernie,
following
hold on.
the Torah.
I don't understand this. You're allowed to have in-group preference. You're allowed to say that God loves people who are of a
He does.
I'm a Muslim,
He does.
right?
I
I'm
do.
a Muslim, and I can tell you just one second. I can tell you that Muslims believe that God loves Muslims more than other non-Muslims, but that as soon as a Muslim stops believing in God, he's no longer a Muslim. And
No,
actually,
he's
the Christian,
an
I
apostate.
just one second, let me finish,
my
please.
view on it is
And the
definitely
Christian and the Jew is much closer to God. So
It's not- it's
God
not-
would then
it's not that
prefer
God-
somebody who is a Christian or a Jew than somebody who is an atheist.
But it's
anybody
it's not a
is
level
allowed to
system
have
of one
in-group
above the other.
preference. And so what I feel like you're dancing away from the question
not.
because you think it's
He's
I just
not.
disagree
it's
with
a little
Let
bit
him,
basis on which
Johnson,
the question is
let's let him define what it means then.
What I was
if
trying
you
to
don't mind.
what I was trying to say before was that you keep on bringing it back to this idea that you're attributing the value in a sense where you're putting one above the other, which is not the Jewish thought. It's not that if one person is Jewish and one person's not Jewish, that God loves the Jew more than the non-Jew. The relationship is just different. The relationship
Okay,
between
and
you and God
what's the
is
value judgment?
different.
What's the value judgment, right? Because all value judgments are made, right? No matter whether they're made by a Gentile
What do you mean by that?
to a Gent.
Value judgment.
You don't. when you make a value judgment about something. Like I can say that human life is important because I'm making a value judgment about human life, right? So you're making a value judgment of the Jewish soul having being closer to Hashem, but you're not describing why it is in that very moment. Not what they are. Not what you believe that baby is destined to do
it
as a
didn't
Jew.
seem like that was the question you were asking. It seemed like the conversation was going in a different way.
All right, guys, just let me chime in here. I'm going to tell you what the Jewish soul means as it appears in the source that talks about this, which is the Tanya. The first 2 chapters of the Tanya, which is the Chabad Bible.
Yeah, but that was written in the late 1700s.
Bernie, let him finish. Come on, let him finish.
The Jewish soul doesn't appear in the Talmud. It doesn't appear in the Torah. It's first in Hasidus.
That's not true.
Well, I mean, show me where in the Talmud that it mentions the Jewish soul. Nowhere in the Torah.
The idea of
that was my question. I
the
don't know what this
idea
is.
soul versus an animal
below
soul.
me, like something
Incredibly ancient.
So the first
It
2
goes
chapters
back
of the
very
Tanya
deeply to the Jewish
says that the soul of Gentiles come from the Sitra Achra, the unclean realms, the unclean klipot, where there is no good. Okay, no good. It says everything a non-Jewish soul does, it does for egotistical reasons. This is in the first chapter of the Tanya. You can look it up. It's in English. Regarding a Jew, they come from the klipa noga, which is there's good and there's bad, but the Jewish soul, it says chelek elokah mimal mamish. It's an actual piece of God. Now, I know that people are trying to whitewash it because it's so disturbing to hear that, but that is the root of soulism in the Jewish world. That's the root.
Sure.
I know people want to water
what that does is it creates this narrative that's very easily manipulated into becoming a idea that Jews hold themselves in some sort of supremacist regard.
They do.
Compared to
and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
I don't think that that's the right way to look at it, and I think that that specific way of interpretation and like that specific picture is something that's been used historically to persecute Jews as a justification.
Okay, if we go for 1 minute, like just not,
really quick.
It's a very unfair narrative.
I don't think it's an unfair narrative. We're giving you the ample opportunity to explain what it means to you. If we use source material. No, that is true. That is true. And I hope it wasn't by me. I tried to be quiet, but
I'm not accusing anyone of anything.
No, I'm just saying just for the record. I definitely want to hear the answer.
But could I put something into perspective for you, just really quick? Like, it would be like super quick, but it would just be to put things into perspective. Like,
yeah, go ahead.
So a lot of atheists back then, they used to, so obviously they believe in evolution, but like way back when, before it was ever like proven, which it's now been proven, like if you are an atheist, it's very much proven that like, humans, white people and black people, like we're all human. But back then, they used to believe like, it started out with a belief that like people from Africa or people from the Middle East were like different species from Europeans, and
right, like a racial science, like eugenics.
Yeah, and obviously this was never proven, so it started to like stem out into like, oh well, we're just more evolved than black people, thus we are better than them, and this is where a lot of unfortunate supremacy.
But are you relating this to what we were talking about before with Jewish thought? Because that's not what it is.
We're just saying like they're two different types. So like there is sort of like a dangerous thinking because it can move into like the aforementioned things that I just pointed out, but I'm not saying that you are
right. But the Jewish thought doesn't subscribe to the same kind of concepts that you're referring to of like racial science and eugenics, because it's not about like a science in the same way that you're describing it. It's spirituality.
It's soulism, not racism.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just.
But again, it's the idea that within Jewish culture, that there is a value that we attribute to having a godly soul and a Jewish connection with God.
Which
that
is what?
Does not. What do you mean? What are you?
Sorry, I got a call. Which is what? What is this quote connection to Hashem? Like that's what I want to hone in on.
I want to, Courtney. So why you with Torah?
How
Torah?
familiar are
What's
you
the
with
connection?
Judaism?
No, it's important for me.
Because Jesus
Right,
was
because
Jewish,
I
that's
even
why.
referred to. I actually did.
I
Sure,
was
yeah,
talking to
but I
Bernie,
referred to it
sorry.
earlier. Oh, my bad.
You have bad service, so it might be on your end.
Yeah, maybe. I was.
We can't hear you.
Courtney, what I'm trying to say to is you. I think you described yourself. Can you repeat what you described yourself
Yeah,
as?
messianic.
Messianic.
No, you have one bar, spaghetti, mom, whatever.
So, how did you get to that point of view?
No. I mean,
Reading my New Testament, reading Hadashah.
Okay. So listen. Obviously, we are not on the same team on that end, but that doesn't mean we can't discuss it. But my point is
All right,
that
you guys are hijacking.
No, I'm not
Ash's
hijacking.
live,
I'm
and
not
this is
No,
like
I'm trying to hear
I
Brown
just want to
spaghetti
answer
or
one
whatever.
thing for Jewish people.
this is like Ash's favorite topic. So you
I
guys
know,
are
but
stealing it
I
from
just
him.
want to get this out before I get lost, and I don't want to interrupt all the time.
You gotta, Bernie.
Everybody here-
You gotta pay for Courtney's subscription. Her channel is
Yeah.
excellent, actually.
Okay, I just want to say that
Thank you,
everybody
Johnson.
here is from a different background, other than maybe spaghetti, than I am. You all come from different backgrounds. Rabbi, you converted. Courtney is a Messianic Jew. The other gentleman is a Muslim. All coming from different perspectives and trying to figure out, what makes Judaism, or trying to ask these questions to get to a point. And it's sort of a combination of maybe trying to get an answer, but the other hand, trying to disprove, or in some cases, to think that we are somewhat special and better than everybody else. I will just say something that I don't make generalizations, paint the whole people with a whole brush. It like the rabbi does. Jewish people are, I'll say it flat, we are, like he said before, we are a nation, we are a peoplehood, we are an ethnicity, we are a religion. We are not, we're all that in one. Each individual has to be, each individual Jew. Each individual.
Why are you so reluctant to say that being a Jew is better?
No, 1 second.
What's wrong with that?
1 second. Each individual Jew has the responsibility to do what he's got to do and answer to the God at the right time.
But why don't you just say it's better? There's nothing wrong with that.
Because that's not what we're trying to say. It's better on a personal level for me. My connection.
I'm not buying it, bro.
It makes my life beautiful.
What I'm not buying is that you're saying
Judaism doesn't subscribe to the idea.
Yeah, Johnson, what do you want to hear? I'm not trying to show. What do you want me to say?
All I'm trying to say is.
Also, Johnson, can I tell you something?
Say that the Jewish soul is closer to God, but that isn't a favored position. If you're closer
just
to
want to
God,
hear
that's
him
a
say
favored
what he
position.
thinks that means. He keeps coming in and out of service.
Because
Mom
he's not being
trying to get his
forthright.
point across.
You can't say my soul is closer to God, but then say that means that I'm equal to all the other souls. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, like I'll give you an example. When a Muslim says Shahada, right? You'll hear most people say, "Okay, go and pray for me." This is a Muslim talking to a Muslim. Go and pray for me because at this point in time, you are closer to Allah than I am. Right? I hear it all the time in da'was, like all the time. Go say it, go. Because to them in that moment, they are, quote, closer to God than the Muslim that just, taught them Shahada and what to say and now to daven and things of that nature. So
Yeah, boom. Say the Shahada and you become a Muslim, and boom.
Yep.
And if you leave, like you said, you are an apostate, and according to the Quran, we know what happens to apostates. All I'm trying to say, I'm not.
well, I mean, it's no different than being
I think according to the Torah, the same thing happens to Jews.
Now, 1 second.
They get apostatized as well.
I'm sorry. I think that you're trying to take the being Jewish, something that is, I don't know what upsets you about it. We have our faith.
No, I'm not upset by it at all. Come on, I'm not upset by it.
Why do you keep trying to get us to, for some reason, admit that
No, it's
we
not
subscribe
that.
to an
Just
ideology of Jewish
just give me a
supremacy.
second so I can tell you
that
what
we
I'm
don't.
saying. What I'm saying without interrupting me. Just give me 1 second. It doesn't make sense to me, and this is what I'm trying to understand. It doesn't make sense to me that you say that you believe your soul is closer to God, but that somehow that isn't a favored or a better position than someone whose soul is not great. For me, if my soul was,
I actually, because I have a response to that, if I could say.
Okay, let him go, please. Everyone, stop. Go.
There's a specific example that I could give that I think is a good picture of this concept, which is we as Jews have the Torah. This is our way of life. In the Torah, we have our laws that we follow, our ways of life, and we don't expect non-Jews to follow these same laws. Instead, there's a concept of the Noahide laws, right, which are the expectations of conformity for non-Jews.
Yeah, Shabbat Mitzvot V'nei Noach.
Right.
We're familiar.
We don't expect non-Jews to keep kosher or put a mezuzah on their door or celebrate Rosh Hashanah or fast. And if they don't do these things, they're less than us.
Okay, but that doesn't really answer the question about the two babies. Babies that are just babies in this moment, right?
You see how you're not answering the question?
It's not what as a fully grown man.
Somewhere, because you're not also understanding what I'm trying to say, which is that
I'm very familiar with Judaism, so
I'm not saying that you don't know what I'm referring to.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, if we could just.
I'm with Courtney. I'm not quite understanding how it has to do with the two babies.
I mean, I get it. If you say, like, Asher is not even going to disagree with you. When you say, like, you have this Jew who's doing many mitzvot, and you have this Gentile who's being reckless, acting crazy, going out and unaliving people and doing all these crazy things. Yes, we all will agree the Jew is definitely closer to Hashem. But you have a Jewish baby sitting beside a non-Jewish baby on a table. They're not even clothed. They're just sitting there as Hashem created them.
Yeah, so I actually have answered this multiple times, but it's just not the answer that you liked. So I kept trying to tell you that it's not a value system of one above the other.
So explain what it means, though.
I'm trying to.
Please explain what it means when you say.
The Jewish baby has a Jewish connection with God, and the non-Jewish baby has a non-Jewish connection with God. The relationship is just different. One is not above the other.
Okay, in what capacity is that connection? Right, in what capacity is that connection?
What do you mean, in what capacity is that connection?
In what sense? What is the connection?
In the sense that one is a Jewish relationship and the other is not. How is that a hard concept to understand?
And you don't see how this is bigoted?
No, because I keep telling you that doesn't put one above the other. It's not a supremacist ideology. It's just objectively different.
I want to change the question.
Different in what?
Can I change the
sense?
My relationship with one cousin and another cousin is different. That doesn't mean that I love one cousin more than the other.
It's a baby.
But in what?
I'm going to throw a little bit of curveball over here, Rabbi. What if you use the analogy of two babies? Okay, let's take two adults side by side. Okay. You and Courtney. One is Jewish, follows tradition, and
Just
Courtney is a
Christian. Hold on. So let's take two adults, right, who are on the same level ethically. That means they're both atheists. You have an atheist Gentile.
No, atheist. Why is that atheist?
Is the Jewish person spiritually different at that point from that Gentile?
Yes, but in his personal perspective, the Jewish person is in his faith and his religion to the Jew. Yes, to himself, he's closer to God. I'm not caring what the Christian is thinking about his closest to God. They have their religion, their faith, and what they believe. What does one have to do with the other?
You have two atheists. You know why? Because in the world we live in today, unless you define people by the content of their character and not because of some special soul, extra or not enough melanin.
It's not for you. It's not for you to define a soul. It's not for you or for me to decide somebody and judgment of who they are. It's for the man above or the person above or whatever you want to call it.
Was your question, if you have two adults, both of them subscribe to atheism, but one was born into a Jewish family and one was not, you were asking if they're on the same level or if we hold one
Are
higher
they
than the
different
other.
spiritually?
Are they different spiritually?
Correct.
Of course they are. Of course they are.
Yeah. Because the Jew was born into a Jewish family and still has that connection to
In
Judaism.
God's eyes, in God's eyes. In God's eyes, is there a
That's the
difference?
problem. You know, you hit it right on the head. God judges. I know we're up here sitting here and trying to make every kind of scenario and to make rhyme or reason back and forth. It's not as simple as that. There's a history, there's all this, and there's so many different views. And I take a person
Such an
as an
easy
individual.
answer. It's such an
If you're a
easy
good
question to
person,
answer.
If you're a
but
good
it's not.
Christian, you're a good
We don't want
Muslim.
to worship a God who has favorites. We don't
God-
want to worship a bigot.
We don't
God
worship
has
a God
different
that has favorites.
expectations when it comes to the relationship between man and God for Jews and non-Jews. He has different expectations.
I'm actually very
That's a
surprised to be
bigoted
hearing this.
idea. That's a bigoted
It's
idea.
not a bigoted idea. It's a core of Judaism.
It's not
that we
idea.
hold
It's
ourselves
not like
to
that in the
different-
Torah.
I can't understand.
The
I
Torah
can't
is
understand.
saying
And
that
as
why
to the
the
Muslim
existence of
person,
the
I'm
Torah.
interested in his answer here.
Go ahead, Bernie.
Are you a current Muslim?
I am. I'm an Orthodox
okay.
Muslim.
So you're an Orthodox Muslim. So you were born into it,
Yes.
converted.
Born into it.
Yes, what?
Born into it.
Born into it. Okay. So now we get your perspective. When you're born into Islam, what are you taught? What are your basic tenets?
Very, very, very simple. If you're a Muslim, you're spiritually superior than you're to a non-Muslim. But it's not
And do you
something that
believe
you're
that?
born.
Do you believe that?
Yes, I
Do you
do.
believe
I do.
that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so
But it's-
therefore, you are
but just
born,
one second,
you are
just
more
one-
spiritual,
just-
higher than me.
No, not too big. Not. This is not something that you are endowed with because of an accident of birth. If you grow up and you no longer believe in God, then you are below the Jew and the Christian. You
Hold
are.
it.
You are.
You just
cast
you
fo-
just skipped ahead. Just go slow here. You were
Sure.
born. You just said that when you were born into a Muslim, you are spiritually on a higher level than anyone else.
No. If you put two babies next to each other,
Don't go
Muslims
there. I don't
believe
want the
that
babies
both-
thing. I'm asking you, Muslim, what you just said, what your belief is that you said about what attendance is, that you are above.
if you are
me.
a practicing Muslim, yes.
Yes, you're above me. What makes you above me? Why?
As a
He didn't
practicing
say
Muslim,
above you. He said above another Muslim.
No. He's saying about me.
I'm saying.
Saying
I'm
if you
saying-
practice. He's
saying
talking
if
about
you-
spiritual practice.
I'm
That's where
talking
he's
about-
making the
I need this
distinction,
explanation-
not
I
in
need
the
this
flesh.
explanation clear. I then explain it to you because he said clearly.
Sure, I'll
that
explain
he
it to you
is
very
born
clearly.
on a
If
higher
you
plane.
practice, no, you are not born on a higher plane. In fact, Muslims believe that everybody's born on the same. Muslims believe everybody's born Muslim, and that's why when converts, we don't call them converts, we call them reverts because we believe they've come back to God.
Okay.
So everybody's born on the same level, but then your upbringing and what you practice makes you closer or further away from God. And a Muslim who was born Muslim, let's say he practiced Islam for 50 years, but then decided that he was no longer Muslim, or even decided that he didn't believe in God, or even decided that he didn't want to, that prayer was not, davening was not a central tenet of Islam. If he believed that, then he becomes on a lower spiritual level than a practicing Muslim or a practicing Jew or a practicing Christian. They are much higher in a level.
Yeah,
But we do believe that
they're on a
Christians
lower
and
level,
Jews are
but
close to
if
God. But
if you're Orthodox, then you're on a higher level than the Jew.
Say that again, sorry?
You are on a higher level than the Jew.
As a practicing Muslim, yes.
Okay.
Anyways, look, on that note,
one of the reasons
Why do
why
I need to add more to
See how
that?
easy that was? You see how easy? It was just
Yeah.
years ago.
Now go ahead.
Asher, are you about to
Can
kick
I
that
say
everybody else.
something? Can I say
Guys,
something?
guys.
This is whatever, then I'll step down. So I'm listening on this. So here's my thing. As a soul, okay, I like to keep things simple. As a soul, Hashem gave us our soul for everybody in the whole wide world, right? Everybody's got a soul. He gave it to us. Some
Not
people think,
gingers.
oh, it's a rebirth. Some people think it's this and the other. My whole thing is this. If we are, if let's say Jews we're selected and we were favored, we were showed favor because we believe, because we participated, we were active in what we chose to do, right? Okay, just walk with me for a minute. Here's the thing, as far as moving forward, we have an opportunity to continue to grow into something and choose that. It does. Your soul can be whatever it is with what you choose to open up. We choose Torah. He tells us, choose life, choose him, choose what's right. That's why we are shown favor. Anybody who chooses to walk the path, i.e., Mo just explained, within his faith, right? Within his faith, if you are active, if you are choosing that, then yes, you are going to select faith. You're going to get favor because you're doing well. It's the same principle within Christianity, because the soul at the end of the day is created by one. Even for those that think they have 14 different poly, whatever, Trinity, duty dotties, whatever, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, there is one. So, we've got one soul. We don't have 5,000 souls bebopping around inside our body. We got one. We got one opportunity every day that we're blessed to wake up to choose the best that we can. And us sitting here talking about, well, this is better and that's better. Let me tell you, from what I understand, and I don't know diddly doodly, from what I understand, that you don't bring shame or embarrassment to another person or to that person's soul, whether or not you acknowledge that or not, but in front of the eyes of Hashem, to bring embarrassment to someone of how, regardless of how they come to their faith. So
we have the final word here. Okay,
say what?
No, I have to end the live. So I'm just going to give the final word here, just so people know where I stand here, because I'm very pro-Jewish to the point that I want everybody to become Jewish. So I'm just going to break it down to how I teach it. This is not the popular opinion. This is the Asher Meza School of Judaism opinion. I believe, because the Torah doesn't mention the idea of a Jewish soul, the Talmud doesn't mention the idea of a Jewish soul. It was first invented in the Zohar, made popular by the Arizal and the Tanya. I believe that everybody has the same soul. It's what you do with your soul. If you happen to have a Jewish mother, you were born legally Jewish. It doesn't mean that you're born with a Jewish soul. I know that's what Kabbalah teaches. I don't believe that. I believe that Karl Marx, Larry David, Jerry Seinfeld, even though they're irreligious, they're still legally Jewish, but that doesn't mean anything religiously. Okay, in God's eyes, they're Gentiles. According to halakha, they're Jews. You could marry them, okay, because the court had to develop checks and balances on who we would allow to live in the land of Israel, not now, but in biblical days, and who would be liable for the punishments of the Sanhedrin. That's all. So this is where I differ. Secular Jews are Jews, but they're not in any covenant with God. That means in God's eyes, they're Gentiles. That's it. There's no difference. God is not a bigot. Jews are superior to Gentiles because they commit themselves to keep the Torah. If a Jew does not commit themselves to keep the Torah, then they're not superior to anyone, who's on a different ethical level than they are. That's it. God is not a bigot. The Torah is not bigoted. Everyone is born with a clean slate. If you have two babies on a table, they're both as equally special as they are equally worthless. They will distinguish themselves by their actions when they get older. And this is the only way Judaism does not sound bigoted. And this is the opinion in the Torah. This is the opinion in the Talmud. Why? Because the idea, again, of a Jewish soul is a new idea. Just see if it ever appears in the Talmud. Of a Jewish soul, not a soul. Souls appears in the Torah, right? But especially a Jewish soul and a Gentile soul. Jews don't have any intrinsic worth. They're distinguished by their actions. If they keep Torah mitzvahs, then like the Torah says, they'll be God's Am Segulah, God's treasured nation. If they don't keep the Torah, then they're not. That's it. And that's all. Anyways, thanks for stopping by. Guys, like and subscribe. Have a good Shabbos. We'll talk Motzei Shabbat.